place like home. We for leave us family. From a tick on the road. We all know I know inside Salon. Salon the land that we love. Let we make we continue. There is no place like home. We for leave us family. From a tick on the road. We all know I know inside Salon. Tire for the labo. Let we come together for the before. Tire for the labo. Let me come together for the before.
Girl, I want you right by me forever. Will you be mine? Please, baby, mine. Oh, gosh. Big folk and country up in these, yeah. Yeah.
It's Bash on the beat.
Girl, I want you right by me forever. Will you be mine? Please, baby, mine. Oh, I only see you, I don't see no other. Will you be mine? Please, baby, mine. Mine. Me want shine you love letter. Me want you, na me lie. Yeah. Me not see no other girl but you. Me not see no other girl. Me want send you love letter. Me want you, na me life. Me not see no other girl but you. Me not see no other girl but you.
Girl, you get the game, you feel by FIFA. Are you fine, so I know that you fever. Happiness with the love, cause I see far. Back in the days, baby, you know me neighbor. Give me one chance for make I love you. Whispering on here just to keep it laughing. I'm addicted to your love, I can't do without it.
You wanna into mine like Illuminati.
Now they kiss with a guy like you and let me go. I know they kiss and tell, baby, that's for sure. You're the queen of my life, I will never let you go. Girl, you bad like Zizi.
Girl, I want you right by me forever. Will you be mine? Please, baby, mine. Oh, I only see you, I don't see no other. Will you be mine? Please, baby, mine. Mine. Me want send you letter. Me want you, na me lie. Yeah. Me not see no other girl but you. Me not see no other girl. Me want send you love letter. Me want you, na me life. Me not see no other girl but you. Me not see no other girl but you.
Yeah, girl, how you bad so? I like the way you cool and relax so. Turn around, baby, what's in cack so? Hold up on you, girl, I bet by your swag. Louis on the bag, Gucci on the glasses. Perfume smell so sweet, Victoria's Secret. Everybody know you classic, not a secret. Since Bamisaga, I'm a big daddy crush. Wish no flat, let you jacket. I stop be fighting, that make now you a take. We find by them all and not a bad debate. Girl, you bad like Sissy, give it.
Girl, I want you right by me forever. Will you be mine? Please, baby, mine. Oh, I only see you, I don't see no other. Will you be mine? Please, baby, mine. Mine. Me want send you love letter. Me want you, na me lie. Yeah. Me not see no other girl but you. Me not see no other girl. Me want send you love letter. Me want you, na me life. Me not see no other girl but you. Me not see no other girl but you.
It's Bash on the beat.
My team big ass. Yeah, banka. Girl, I get back. I know brag. You get back. You be nice cat. Me and you go do match. When you call, I come fast. Girl, I run fast for you. You not get moto. You dey drive me crazy, yeah. Like a wheel auto. Girl, you dey give me the cocoa. Come inside. Make I show you something you like, oh. Oh, my sweet potato. comme ça, l'on tous au wecho. Ah, you don't do me something I like her. Something jiggy jagga my atta. Oh baby, 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 come closer. Oh yeah. You don't do me something I like her. Something jiggy jagga my atta. Oh baby, 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 come closer. Oh yeah.
Girl, I get back. I know brag. You get back. You be nice guy. Me and you go to match. When you go, I come fast. Yeah, I run fast. Oh yeah.
Me and you touring round in the world, while I give you some love and good love. See, me and you all alone. You should know that I'm grateful for you and your love. Never driving you the wrong way, girl. Never leaving you lonely, girl. Hope you know that you want me, girl. You say you love me, gotta show me, girl. Girl, I get back, I know brag. You get back, you be nice catch. Me and you good match. When you call, I come fast, girl. I run fast. I run fast, my team, baby, I saw.
Yeah, banka.
I try to close my heart from loving, but love is always playing tricks on me. This girl really, really loving me, but she out here lacking, and everybody all around me tell me different things about her. Can't really believe in what they told me until I saw it with my own eyes. They be like, oh my days, she didn't love me when I didn't feel like a waste. Oh my days, girl, I love the way you wind your waist. Oh man, girl, you make me the crazy. You don't make me crazy, so but I won't fall for your love.
I wanna have you tonight, but make sure you don't stick around.
Cheating for the one, misses for the guys, cause everybody passes around.
Don't go back, no, then you're guy. Jackie sis, I guess it's my turn right now.
Just make sure you send her back to the streets where she belongs.
She said if I ain't got no followers, she don't wanna follow me right back. She said if I ain't got this style, she ain't fucking with me like that. Oh, na na na, so la lone, je ain't go by, go to execution. I just give a fuck about your boyfriend in this moment. I just want to see where this night goes. That could be a Timuko, no mama. No need no beating, but the jail was shaka, shaka, shaka. Sure you don't stick around.
Cheating for the one, misses for the guys, cause everybody passes around.
Don't go back, no, then you're guy. Jackie sis, I guess it's my turn right now.
Just make sure you send her back to the streets where she belongs.
When it comes to love, she know how to do it. When it comes to mine, she always approve it. She never let me down like Jesus love Mary. She always hold me down with Basayama and Gravy. My cold ginger wine, she the talk of the city. The money coming now, you can see her stacking it. The way she do the wine, the way she do the cocking it. She never fall for one, she always my happiness.
Girl, I wanna have you tonight, but make sure you don't stick around.
Cheating for the one, misses for the guys, cause everybody passes around.
Don't go back, no, then you're guy. Jackie sis, I guess it's my turn right now.
Just make sure you send her back to the streets where she belongs.
Magic.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. This no Batman Mr. E.
money, I dey spend me money. Me money, I dey spend me money. Me money, I dey spend me money. Oh, me money, I dey spend me money. 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 Oh, money good oh, money sweet oh. I dey hustle for me money, on the rain, on the sun oh.
All the money me want spend it. Oh boy, all the money me want spend it. Me say, all the money me want spend it. Money for the bank, why me want spend it?
I dey spend this money radically. I dey spend this money necessarily.
Kaboom! More fire me fi give them. More fire me fi give them. More fire me fi give them. On the mic, more fire me fi give them. Slow to the jam to the empire. Just no apartment with the higher.
Me money, I dey spend me money.
Just no apartment.
Me money, I dey spend me money. Me money, I dey spend me money.
Just no apartment.
Me money, I dey spend me money. Oh, me money, I dey spend me money. 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 Oh, money make the world go round oh. So I defend this money. And money makes the world go round oh. And me I want this money. Me I dey spend me money oh. I dey enjoy me money oh. I dey spend me money oh. And I dey enjoy me money oh.
Why? Me a do, me a do. Kaboom! Me a boom, me a boom. A jiggy, za, jiggy, za. A ziggy, za. Out to the jam to the empire. Just no apartment with the higher.
Me money, I dey spend me money.
Just no apartment.
Me money, I dey spend me money. Me money, I dey spend me money.
Just no apartment.
Me money, I dey spend me money. Oh, me money, I dey spend me money. 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 Oh,
Just no apartment. Just no apartment.
aye, yeah. Why you just there for well? If you don't take and tell. Any news where they spread, now you they care. When you go blow up and then style ya so, you know they grow and they done they go. You see Caddy, Alex and Marie, just because they agree. You know King Gladdy, and fuck well you sabi. Instead of you for they settle problem, but now you they go back and they cause dark. And when this you talk go stop. While you they talk, me they walk. And time done they tick round the clock. I don't know why you like back talk. And when this you talk go stop. While you they talk, me they walk. And time done they tick round the clock. When I get for succeed, now them back he go shock.
Now them go shock. The water side deep music don't duck. Then get enough for talk, but me yo nine them put side them dirty months. This month is a month, you know go stop out with jam fat talk. I make them value the best network just for the bulk who talk.
No problem. Body don't give up.
But some for do lele muna dem boku. For take you talk go in art for do. You just a well boku talk. Take you tell boku talk. CNN boku talk.
And when this you talk go stop. While you they talk, me they walk. And time done they tick round the clock. I don't know why you like back food
Now them back you go show.
Let's do the mix.
I try to close my heart from loving, but love is always playing tricks on me. This girl really, really loving me, but she out here lacking. And everybody all around me tell me different things about her. Can't really believe in what they told me until I saw it with my own eyes. They be like, oh my days, she didn't love me when I didn't feel like a waste. Oh my days, girl, I love the way you wind your waist. Oh man, girl, you make me crazy. You don't make me crazy, so but I won't feel for your love.
I'll make sure you don't stick around.
Cheating for the one, miss is for the guys, cause everybody passes around.
Don't go bang on the young guy, Jackie Sis. I guess it's my turn right now.
Just make sure you send her back to the streets where she belongs.
She said if I ain't got no followers, she don't wanna follow me right back. She said if I ain't got this style, she ain't fucking with me like that. Oh, nah, nah, nah. So I know that you ain't go by, go to your I don't give a fuck about your boyfriend in this moment. I just want to see where this night goes. And I could be a Timuko, no mama. No need no meeting. But the jail was shaka. Girl, I wanna have you tonight. I'll make sure you don't stick around.
Cheating for the one, miss is for the guys, cause everybody passes around.
Don't go bang on the young guy, Jackie Sis. I guess it's my turn right now.
Just make sure you send her back to the streets where she belongs.
When it comes to love, she know how to do it. When it comes to mine, she always approve it. She never let me down like Jesus love Mary. She always hold me down with Basayama and Gravy. My cold ginger wine, she the talk of the city. The money coming now, you can see her stacking it. The way she do the wine, the way she do the cocking it. She never fall for one, she always my happiness.
Girl, I wanna have you tonight. I'll make sure you don't stick around.
Cheating for the one, miss is for the guys, cause everybody passes around.
Don't go bang on the young guy, Jackie Sis. I guess it's my turn right now.
Just make sure you send her back to the streets where she belongs.
Magic.
Okay. Can't I want me a ghetto? I say no pull and pa me. Nice sabi make me sweat so. Baby, no pull and pa me. I say no pull and pa me. No, I say no pull and pa me. No, I say no pull and pa me. Baby, no pull and pa me. I say no pull up, no pull up, no pull and pa me. I say no pull and pa me. No pull up, no pull up, no pull and pa me. Baby, but no pull up. I say no pull up, no pull up, no pull and pa me. I say no pull and pa me. No pull up, no pull up, no pull and pa me. Baby, but no pull and pa me. Oh yo, oh me baby yo. Don't let me go. See, okay, see. Now you sabi pretty pata. I mean no more, sabi pretty pata. I gotta give you good loving, pretty pata. I say no worry, baby girl, tell me what's the matter. Say wanna money, wanna night every night and day. I give you good loving every night and day. Wanna money, wanna night every night and day. I give you good loving every night and day. I say no pull up, no pull up, no pull and pa me. I say no pull and pa me. No pull up, no pull up, no pull and pa me. Baby, but no pull up. I say no pull up, no pull up, no pull and pa me. I say no pull and pa me. No pull up, no pull up, no pull and pa me. Baby, but no pull and pa me.
Girl, the love inside me, you dey burn like a fire. I go love you forever, I no go tire.
If you pull on pa me, we go pinch like a plier. Have you sick make so, we dey sing like a choir. You sabi for ziggy ziggy zo, ziggy zo. Every night you dey gimme more, give me more. You sabi for ziggy ziggy zo, ziggy zo. Every night you dey gimme more. I say no pull up, no pull up, no pull and pa me. I say no pull and pa me, no pull up, no pull up, no pull and pa me. Baby, but no pull am. I say no pull up, no pull up, no pull and pa me. I say no pull and pa me, no pull up, no pull up, no pull and pa me. Baby, but no pull and pa me. Girl, I want me I get so. I say no pull and pa me. Now you sabi make me sweat so. Baby, no pull and pa me. I say no pull and pa me. No, I say no pull and pa me. No, I say no pull and pa me. Baby, no pull and pa me. I say no pull up, no pull up, no pull and pa me. I say no pull and pa me. No pull up, no pull up, no pull and pa me. Baby, but no pull up. I say no pull up, no pull up, no pull and pa me. I say no pull and pa me. No pull up, no pull up, no pull and pa me. Baby, but no pull and pa me. Anya banka. Anya banka.
Will you be mine? Please, baby, mine. Oh, big folk and country up in this, yeah.
It's Bash on the beat.
Girl, I want you right by me forever. Will you be mine? Please, baby, mine. Oh, I only see you, I don't see no other. Will you be mine? Please, baby, mine. Mine. Me want send you love letter. Me want you, now me lie. Yeah. Me not see no other girl but you. Me not see no other girl. Me want send you love letter. Me want you, now me life. Me not see no other girl but you. Me not see no other girl but you.
Girl, you get the game, you feel by FIFA. Are you fine, so I know that you fever. Happiness so with the love, cause I see far. Back in the days, baby, you know me neighbor. Give me one chance for make I love you. Whisper in your ear just to keep it laughing. I'm addicted to your love, I can't do without it.
You wanna into mine like Illuminati.
Now they kiss with a guy like you and let me go. I know they kiss and tell, baby, that's for sure. You're the queen of my life, I will never let you go. Girl, you bad like Zizi.
Girl, I want you right by me forever. Will you be mine? Please, baby, mine. Oh, I only see you, I don't see no other. Will you be mine? Please, baby, mine. Mine. Me want send you love letter. Me want you, now me lie. Yeah. Me not see no other girl but you. Me not see no other girl. Me want send you love letter. Me want you, now me life. Me not see no other girl but you. Me not see no other girl but you.
Yeah, girl, how you bad so? I like the way you cool and relax so. Turn around, baby, what you cock so? Hold up on you, girl, I bet by your swag. Louis on the bag, Gucci on the glasses. Perfume smell so sweet, Victoria's Secret. Everybody know you classic, not a secret. Since by me saga, I'm a big girl, posh. Waist no flat, let's jacket. I stop be fine teen, that make now you a take. We find by them all and not a party bits. Girl, you bad like Sissy, give me.
Girl, I want you right by me forever. Will you be mine? Please, baby, mine. Oh, I only see you, I don't see no other. Will you be mine? Please, baby, mine. Mine. Me want send you love letter. Me want you, now me lie. Yeah. Me not see no other girl but you. Me not see no other girl. Me want send you love letter. Me want you, now me life. Me not see no other girl but you. Me not see no other girl but you.
It's Bash on the beat.
So unfaithful, yeah. So unfaithful, yeah, yeah. Somebody please call 911. I just shot somebody's daughter and somebody's son, yeah. But do ya please call 911? Cause I just shot somebody's daughter and somebody's son, yeah. I said, everybody knows it. You know I'm not a killer. She was going down in my bed on another nigga. So I had to pull the trigger, yeah. I said, everybody knows it. You know me not to kill her. She was going down in my bed on another nigga. So I had to pull the trigger, yeah. I said, look what you made me do. Now look what you made me do. Look what you don't make her do for being unfaithful. Now look what you made me do. Look what you made me do. Look what you made me do for being unfaithful. So unfaithful. Yeah. So unfaithful. Yeah. I said, Gally Dante, where you been unfaithful? I bet you say you go change, but you still remain unfaithful. I gave you my heart, body and my soul. So many nights you make I cry for you. Lot of sacrifices where I made for you. The price you make where I pay for you. Not to be a prisoner for love. So many nights you make I cry for you. Lot of sacrifices where I made for you. The price I pay, baby, to care for you. Not to be a prisoner for love. But all of my no say me not to kill her. She was going down in my bed on another nigga. So I had to pull the trigger. Yeah. I said, everybody knows it. You know I'm not a killer. She was going down in my bed on another nigga. Yeah. And so I had to pull the trigger. Now, look what you made me do. Look what you made me do. Look what you made me do, yeah. For being unfaithful. Now look what you made me do. Look what you made me kill somebody. Look what you made me do. For being unfaithful. So unfaithful. Yeah. So unfaithful. So unfaithful. Look what you made me do. Yeah, look what you made me do. Oh. Yeah, you got me acting so stupid. I didn't mean to do it. It's the things we do for love. Girl, it's the things we do for love. Girl, look what you made me do. Oh yeah. Look what you made me do. Look what you made me do. You don't know.
Blessing, 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 Baba. Blessing, 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 Baba. Blessing they follow me any side from up me take go down me footy they rock down. Been a blessing, 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 Baba. Call me blessing, 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 Baba. And they wish for see me fall, but I still not fall down. Them try for challenge me, but I beat them whoa whoa. Call me blessing, 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 Baba. Any side I go, blessing they follow. It's a like water, it just a flow. Outside they show, ain't no hearts for no. Blessing up on me, just like my Donny. It a throw away, blessing they throw away. Money they throw away, couple they throw away. It a throw away, blessing they throw away. Money they throw away, couple they throw away. Blessing, 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 Baba.
in a follow me any side from up me take go down me footy they walk on. Been a blessing, 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 Bobo. Come the blessing, 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 Bobo. And they wish for see me fall, but I still not fall down. Then try to challenge me, but I beat them, whoa, whoa. Come the blessing, 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 Bobo.
Hello, hello. Hi, everyone. Can we please take our seats as we are about to begin? Please do take our seats. Do people... Everybody, please be standing as we welcome our keynote. Please, thank you. Help us welcome the President of the Republic of Sierra Leone. Thank you.
Well, we are delighted to receive our guests. We're delighted to receive our delegates. And at this juncture, we'd like to request you to kindly take your seats.
Here we go. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, distinguished guests, our excellencies, honorable members, our friends, colleagues, and change makers from all over the globe. Welcome to the Oxford Africa Conference 2025 here at the Blavatnik School of Government at the Historic University of Oxford. Yeah? Bit more energy.
That is definitely more like it. In Swahili and in many parts of East Africa, we say, Karibuni sana.
Woo! And in Bemba, we say, Mwaiseni. So, Mwaiseni. My name is Bupa Luhano Kawae. I'm the daughter of Zambia, where the Zambezi flows and the smoke of the Victoria Falls still thunders. I'm a governance and development practitioner and reading global governance and diplomacy here at Oxford University.
And my name is George Murichu, from the land of marathoners, from the cradle of humankind, the magical Kenya.
And I am delighted to be a host together with Luhano. I am currently a scholar pursuing science and religion right here at the University of Oxford. And we are most delighted and honored to have you, our delegates, joining us for this historic moment. Would you appreciate yourself for being part of this historic moment? We gather here under the resonant theme that is right there on our screens. And if you may, I'd like to invite you to read it out loud with that African energy, that African oomph. Let's together with one loud voice declare the theme, Changing Narratives, Vision, Action, and Transformation of Africa.
Woo! Yeah, it is definitely a collective moment of reflection and reuniting of the African continent and the African voice. But before we get started, just a few
logistical items. So our bathrooms are upstairs. So once you take the stairs upstairs, it is to the left of the elevators. Please do use those bathrooms as the event is going on.
And what else do people need to know, George?
All right, in the unlikely event of an emergency, please underscore unlikely. In the unlikely event of an emergency, we'd like us to do take note of our exit protocols. We would make our way to the ground level and we would exit through the main door. For those of you who have accessibility requirements, those are factored in as well. And you'll be able to make your way to the refuge point and exit through that.
Yes, and if you did need water as the event is going on, there is Seminar Room 1, which has doors open right behind the staircase. So please stay hydrated as it is spring and we want you to be hydrated and to keep up the energy levels. Yeah.
All right, over these couple of days, we're going to hear from visionary leaders. They are already here. We are getting a front row seat to some amazing ideas that will transform our continent. And so at this juncture, we'd like us to raise our expectation and open our hearts, and let's get ready to receive, and let's get ready to be the change makers for our continent in this moment. And so we want to express our gratitude to the organizing team, our sponsors, our partners, and we'll be making mention of them in due course during this conference.
Yes, so let's honor the past, disrupt the present, and dream forward. Today, Africa is no longer defined by outsiders. She paints her own future, bold, unshaken, and transformed. So let the Oxford Africa Conference begin! Woo!
And so to gear up for our first official session, our keynote, we are honored to have with us none other than the president of the Oxford University Africa Society. Ladies and gentlemen, she is a merit scholar. She is pursuing her DPhil in molecular and cellular medicine. And this is one of the phenomenal leaders who's passionate about our continent. Delegates, would you put your hands together for the convener of this year's conference, Mariam Nina Hadi. Come on, we can do better than that.
Wow, this is so surreal. Over a year of planning, and everything is working together. His Excellency, President Julius Maada Bio, President of the Republic of Sierra Leone, welcome. First Lady Fatima Maada Bio, welcome. Dr. Ngozi Iweala-Okonjo, welcome. All members of the Sierra Leone High Commission and delegation, the Deputy High Commissioner of South Africa, Dino Makluta, Dr. Ernest Ofori-Sapon, the judge of our Innovation Seed Fund, Professor Nairi Woods, the Dean of the Blavatnik School of Government, all protocols duly observed. Esteemed guests, partners, and friends, on behalf of the Oxford University Africa Society, it is my absolute great honor to welcome you all to the 2025 Oxford Africa Conference at the Blavatnik School of Government. Once again, thank you so much for joining us for this important gathering of Africa's boldest voices. As we look ahead today too, we are equally as excited I extend a warm welcome to everyone else here, and we are deeply, deeply honored by your presence, the presence of eminent dignitaries and thought leaders. President Bio, once again, we are privileged to host you as you share insights from Sierra Leone's journey. Dr. Okonjo-Iweala, your leadership on the global scale inspires us all, and we look forward to your fireside chat with Professor Woods. To all esteemed guests and attendees, policymakers, educators, academics, entrepreneurs, artists, students, and change makers from across the African continent and the diaspora, you are most welcome. And it's truly, truly inspiring to see this diverse community united here in Oxford, ready to engage in visionary conversations about Africa's future, changing narratives, the vision, action, and transformation of Africa. This year's theme is of special importance to not just me, but the entire continent. This theme could not be any more timely or vital. And this is because for far too long, Africa's story has been told by others, often reduced to a singular story of poverty, conflict, or need. As the author Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie reminds us, the single story creates stereotypes. And the problem with stereotypes is that not that they are untrue, but that they are incomplete. They make one story become the only story. Our mission here today is to shatter that single story and illuminate the richness and complexity of Africa's multiple stories. We have seen how external narratives about Africa can swing from despair to euphoric without capturing the nuance. In 2000, The Economist infamously labeled Africa the hopeless continent, only to declare a decade later, Africa rising. Neither extremes does justice to the reality. Between being hopeless and rising, there are countless African stories that are yet to be told. Stories of resilience, stories of creativity, and courageous leadership. Indeed, an African proverb wisely says, until the lion learns to write, every story will glorify the hunter. In other words, if we do not tell our own stories, others will tell them for us. Changing narratives means Africa writing its own story, its vision with action and with authenticity. Our three theme pillars, the vision, action, and transformation, speak to the journey of redefining Africa's narrative. Vision is about imagining the Africa we want, a continent that is prosperous, equitable, and at peace with itself. It is the audacity to dream beyond the limitations that others have imposed upon us. Action is about implementing that vision through leadership, policy, entrepreneurship, and grassroots initiatives. And without vision, and vision without action is obviously merely a dream. But vision with action can catalyze a real transformation. Real transformation is the tangible change in our society that uplifts lives. Together, vision, action, and transformation all will lead to a better Africa. The realities of Africa that we are striving to create. Already, the good news, of course, is already transformation is underway. For instance, the African nations have come together to establish the African Continental Free Trade Area, the largest free trade area in the world by the number of participating countries, connecting 1.3 billion people across 55 countries in a single market. This bold vision of economic integration is backed by action, and that promises opportunity across the continent. We are witnessing a technological and creative resonance. This is driven by Africa's youth, from bustling techs in the hubs of Lagos and Nairobi to the vibrant film and music industries of Nollywood and Afrobeat. And with a median age of just 19.3 years, Africa's population is the youngest in the world. We are brimming with energy, we are brimming with potential. Our young people are not just waiting to be handed the future, we are already building it through our startups, through our social enterprises and community projects. And these stories of transformation and innovation that must take center in the narrative of the new Africa. Yes, of course, challenges persist. From climate vulnerability to government issues to humanitarian crisis across the continent. The headlines, I must admit, feel familiar. But the story is changing. Because across all these contents, Africans are not waiting to be rescued. We are responding, we are resisting, and we are rebuilding. And that is the narrative that we want to amplify today. A call to unity, leadership, and reimagining Africa's stories. Ladies and gentlemen, as we commence this conference, I issue a heartfelt call to action. Let us unite to reimagine and rewrite Africa's story. Changing the narratives requires each of us, whether in government, whether in academia, business, or civil society, to work together with a shared purpose. We must break down the artificial divides between our nations and foster a Pan-African unity of vision. Our challenges do not respect borders, neither should our solutions. We need visionary leadership at all levels, leaders who are not afraid to envision an Africa beyond the problems of today, and who inspire our people to do greatness. Leadership is not only the task of presidents and officials, it's a responsibility we all must share. The young student in Oxford or Lagos who challenges misconceptions about Africa is leading. The entrepreneur in Nairobi providing jobs and innovation is leading. The activist in Accra, Ghana, who stands for peace and justice is leading. And this conference itself is a form of leadership. We are gathering of minds to chart a way forward. So I ask of us all here, in our discussions, let us be bold and imaginative. Let us craft a vision for Africa that is defined by our aspirations and not by our affiliations. Then, when we leave here, let us commit to concrete actions to realize vision in policy, in partnerships, in large projects or small. If we do this, I am confident that we will see the transformation of Africa that we seek. We will see an Africa that is defined in a global conscience, not by outdated stereotypes, but by achievements, its diversity, and contributions to the world. We will see an Africa that takes its rightful place as a leader on the world stage, an Africa that tells its own story, on its own terms. And in the words of Chinua Achebe, we must strive for a balance of stories, a narrative that acknowledges our triumphs, but also celebrates our tribulations. Let us ensure that the story of Africa is no longer one dimension. We should make sure it's a story that is externally dictated. It is our story and we must own it. Together, through unity and purpose, we can transform the narrative of Africa from one potential to one of promise fulfilled. And on this note, and on this hopefully inspiring opening, I want to highlight that this conference would not have been possible without the work, without the dedication of our extraordinary group of students at the University of Oxford. They are not just organizers, they are visionaries, they are collaborators, and they are custodians of a bold dream. First, my deepest thanks to Clement Amponsa, our program coordinator. Clement, your strategic guidance, tireless commitment, and unwavering personal support have anchored me and the whole team throughout this journey. Both professionally and personally, you have shaped every part of the conference. Clement, thank you for believing in this vision with me and the team. To Nanasa, our program coordinator as well. You are brilliant. Your leadership and consistency have carried this conference from its earliest days of planning to its full execution. You held so many moving parts together with grace, and it has been a privilege to build this with you. To Wanto, T. Wanto, and Julie Ojambo, our co-conveners. Your leadership, diplomacy, and your ability to hold space for complexity help shape this into more than just an event. It's now a movement. To Sandra Mate, the bedrock of everything creative you see here today, from merchandise to design, you have been the bridge between teams, the hand that has steadied us, and the quiet force that has made sure that nothing falls through. Your fingerprint is on every inch of this conference. Thank you. To Ajasa, Toby Moronfulu, and Bupi Lohano, our sponsorship and partnership coordinators. Thank you for your diligence to securing vital funding and the networks that brought to life this vision. Thank you for your reliability and your spirit of service. To Princess Nikosal, our Afro-Ball coordinator, thank you for coordinating a celebration worthy of our culture and excellence. Your vision for this social moment has brought joy to the planning process. And to Elizabeth, I'm looking for you. Elizabeth, our logistics and venue coordinator, thank you for managing the many moving parts that no one sees but everyone depends on. From the transport schedules to the room setups to catering to contingencies, your calm attention to detail has ensured that things have run smoothly even when chaos is threatened. You have been a quiet engine of this operation, and we are deeply grateful. To Tieza Zunkanyika, our report writer, thank you for documenting this journey with clarity and care and ensuring the legacy of this conference lives on print. To David Michael, our volunteer coordinator, thank you for rallying, training, and managing the amazing team working behind the scenes today. To Mantate Mushla, our alumni coordinator, whose curation of the fashion show is highlighting African brilliance through design and heritage. You helped us reimagine a culture as leadership. Thank you. To Rachel Otuku, our innovation seed fund coordinator, thank you for spotlighting Africa's most promising talent and giving ideas to a global stage. To Mwangi and Abigail Isaac, so Mwangi Mwaura and Abigail Isaac, our AfriSites editors-in-chief, your editorial clarity and creative vision have elevated this conference beyond the walls of Oxford. To Yvonne, Joyce, Jicheche, marketing and promoting leads, thank you so much for shaping the voice across digital platforms and making our voices visible. Last but not the least core component of our conference, our MCs, George and Lohano. Thank you for setting up the tone, the rhythm of this conference with professionalism and charisma. And I want to say a special thanks to the Blavatnik School of Government for hosting us. A big thank you to Jolie and Anna for making sure that they were able to make this all possible and for putting this all together. I have two more names and I'll conclude immediately. We have Chadin, our creative associate, whose eye for design and detail added texture and soul to our visual identity. To Jeremy Hagan, thank you so much once again for assisting in any way that you can with sponsorship and partnership. But of course, all this with the mic, with the graphics being displayed, was all thanks to the AV team. And so to Alan Thank you so much. And the entire AV team, we're so grateful. So that brings us to the major thank yous for the people in the conference, people who made this a reality. And so to every one of you, thank you. Thank you for being here. And I would be a disservice to obviously leave without acknowledging our sponsors. And so to the Africa Oxford Initiative, to the University of Oxford, the Vice Chancellor's Office, to SOMIVA, the African Studies Center, the University of Oxford Innovation, to EcoBank Sierra Leone, to Inspire Oxford, to Reston Energy Trading Limited, to Kenya Airways, High Level Fashion, Ken City, Road Trust, and to Dr. Ernest Ofori-Sapong, the sponsor of the Innovation Seed Fund. Thank you for trusting in the power of young Africans and investing in a platform that pushes dialogue into action. And a special thank you to Honorable Abina Osei, who is here with us today. Thank you so much for gracing us. But now on a personal note, and I think this will be such a disservice to leave this stage without acknowledging the brain behind who I am today. And so a special note, I would like to give a heartfelt thank you to my mother, who is in the audience today. Aisha to Jibrin. My dad, Adam Hadi, couldn't make it, but they have instilled in me confidence to pursue my dreams and my academics. Without them, I wouldn't be here. They've pushed, they've motivated me, they've inspired me. To Anne McKenna, who has laid the groundwork for African scholars to have a space in Oxford, along with Dr. David Kerr, and Dr. Kevin. Thank you so much. Ruth Nanjala, I couldn't end this without you. My unpaid special advisor, a true trendsetter and trailblazer. Your support has been my bedrock. Thank you to everyone. And so, Excellencies, distinguished guests, dear friends, thank you for being here today and for engaging in a shared endeavor to reshape the narrative. It is often said that Africa's story has been written by others, and we need to own our narrative. Today, we gather in this hall, and we are doing just that. So let's continue to write the story of Africa that future generations will be proud of. Welcome once again. And I'm trying to learn as many African languages as I can. So, Midase, Asante Sana, Merci beaucoup. Shukran. Thank you all. And I think I need to pause here because this next step is a distinct honor. This is a privilege. And I am honored. I'm beyond words. I stand before you today, and I am here to welcome to the stage His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Sierra Leone, His Excellency Julius Maada Bio.
Thank you very much. Let's sit down, please.
Madam First Lady, the Director General of WTO, my dear sister, Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, the President and executives of the Oxford Africa Society, Dean of the Blavatnik School of Government, Professor Nari Woods,
fellow Africans, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I bring you warm greetings from the Republic of Sierra Leone,
our beautiful country on the stunning West African coast. As we gather here today at the prestigious Oxford Africa Conference on the eve of Africa Day, I am struck by a profound contradiction. For centuries, ladies and gentlemen, the narrative of Africa has been shaped by outsiders. Our beloved continent, the cradle of humanity and home to ancient civilizations, bear immense cultural wealth. Yet, it has been reduced to simplistic narratives of dependency, conflict, and underdevelopment. These external narratives have influenced global perceptions, but even more dangerously, have shaped how we view ourselves. As I look around, I see some of the brightest minds from our beloved continent gathered at one of the world's most prestigious institutions. And in these esteemed halls of Oxford, where knowledge is valued, Africa's intellectual contributions are still undervalued. Our perspectives marginalized, and our agency questioned. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, this is our reality. A continent of 1.3 million people, with the youngest population in the world, vast natural resources, boundless creativity, still struggles to control its narrative and shape its future. But I see a profound shift, ladies and gentlemen, and I hope you see it too. From Cape Town to Cairo, Freetown to Djibouti, Africans are awakening to the power of what I call quotidian African agency. And that is our capacity to make choices, act independently, and shape our destinies. This daily African agency involves farmers using innovative agricultural techniques, tech entrepreneurs developing solutions for local challenges, artists reclaiming our cultural narratives, and students questioning established norms while envisioning new possibilities. The Oxford Africa Society embodies this awakening, and I say thank you to you. Since the 1950s, the winds of decolonization swept across our continent, you have evolved from mere student club to a powerful community of change agents. I congratulate you. In an environment where it will be easy to become absorbed in academic pursuit or distance yourself from the challenges facing our continent, you have instead discovered your mission and fulfilled it faithfully. This year's theme, Changing Narratives, Vision, Action, and Transformation of Africa, recognizes that we stand at a crossroads. This year, the African Union's focus on reparation acknowledges historical injustices while confronting contemporary challenges of economic exclusion and marginalization in global decision-making. We are all called to reimagine Africa, not as it has been portrayed, but as we know it to be, a continent of agency, innovation, untapped potential, ready to take its rightful place on the global stage. Yet, we would be naive to underestimate the resistance to this transformation. The path ahead is fraught with formidable obstacles, both external and internal. Externally, we face a global order that is not designed with our input or interest in mind. The COVID-19 pandemic exposed this reality. When vaccines became available, ladies and gentlemen, Africa stood last in line, not by accident, but by design. International financial systems continue to disadvantage our economies. Although we contribute relatively small amounts to global greenhouse gas emissions, climate change disproportionately affects our communities. And global media persists in portraying our continent through a lens of poverty, conflict, and helplessness. Madam President, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, internally, we must confront uncomfortable truths. Rising debt levels threaten our economic sovereignty. Food insecurity challenge our most basic resilience. The digital divide risks leaving our young people behind in the global knowledge economy. Governance failures have eroded public trust in our institutions in Africa. And all too often, our 54 nations speak with 54 different voices on global stage, diluting our collective influence. Perhaps most insidiously, we struggle against internalized narratives that limit our imagination of what Africa can truly be. After generations of being told what we cannot do, some have begun to believe it. These challenges can seem overwhelming. They might tempt us to retreat into the comfort of familiar patterns or seek external saviors. But there are no external saviors. But this is precisely what the old narrative would have us do. I stand before you today, not with easy answers, but with a powerful guiding principle. African agency. This principle, the insistence that Africans must be the primary architects of Africa's future, can illuminate our path forward. African agency is not merely a philosophical concept, but a practical approach to development, governance, and international relations. It demands that we move from being policy takers to policymakers, from consumers of others' solutions to creators of our own. In Sierra Leone, we have embraced this principle through our National Development Plan, which centers on 5 transformative game changers. 1, feed Salone, that is food security. This is our comprehensive strategy for food security and agro-industrial transformation, which puts our farmers at the center of our economic future. 2 is human capital development. Our bold reforms in education and healthcare that prepare our people to participate in the global knowledge economy and help shape it. 3, the youth employment scheme to create dignified, sustainable jobs that harness the creativity and energy of our young population. Technology and infrastructure development, using digital transformation to catch up and leapfrog traditional development stages. 5, public service reforms to enhance governance and service delivery to rebuild trust between citizens and government. These initiatives align with AU Agenda 2063 and the UN Sustainable Development Goals, demonstrating how national strategies can advance continental and global ambitions. But more importantly, ladies and gentlemen, they represent African solutions to African challenges, designed with specific context and aspirations in mind. Ladies and gentlemen, if the African agency is our compass, then what is our map? How do we translate this guiding principle into concrete action? Our plan must operate simultaneously at multiple levels, from the individual to the continental, from the cultural to the economic. First, we must assert our epistemic agency. And I say that again, we must assert our epistemic agency. Africans must lead knowledge production about Africa. This involves decolonizing education, prioritizing indigenous knowledge systems, and ensuring that African voices are adequately represented in global intellectual discussions. As Nelson Mandela once asserted, and I quote, "Education is the most powerful weapon which you can use to change the world." End of quote. By reclaiming our intellectual sovereignty, we lay the foundation for all other forms of agency. Second, we must institutionalize African agency in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, promoting our continent's role in advancing these fields. Africa has produced innovations that address unique African challenges, including mobile platforms and medical diagnosis suited for resource-limited environments. We must scale these successes through increased investment and cross-border collaboration in the continent. Third, we must assert African agency in key economic sectors like agriculture, extractive, and trade. The African Continental Free Trade Area represents a historic chance to boost intra-African trade from its current levels to create millions of jobs and develop regional value chains. Fifth, we must cultivate a Pan-African vision that transcends colonial boundaries and fosters solidarity among African peoples and diaspora communities. As Kwame Nkrumah reminded us, I am not, and I quote, I am not African because I was born in Africa, but because Africa was born in me. End of quote. Finally, and perhaps most importantly, we must speak with only one voice in global forums. Our influence becomes undeniable when 54 nations of Africa align their positions on trade, climate, or financial architecture reforms. If we commit to this path, we will collectively create the future we truly desire. Ladies and gentlemen, envisioning a global order where African nations speak with a unified, influential voice on climate action, trade rules, and global security is crucial. An Africa where intracontinental trade flows freely, creating millions of jobs and prosperity for our citizens. An Africa where innovations address African challenges and scale globally. Ladies and gentlemen, imagine a world where international financial institutions reflect Africa's economic weight and development priorities, where digital technologies link the most remote villages to global markets and knowledge. Imagine a continent where governance is transparent, responsive, and where citizens trust their institutions. An Africa where development initiatives effectively reach the most vulnerable populations. Ladies and gentlemen, this is not a far-off utopia. The fundamental elements are already being assembled through initiatives like the AFCFTA, the APRM, and various regional integration efforts. The critical question is not whether this future is achievable, but whether we will act with enough urgency, unity, and strategic vision to realize it. Changing the narrative about Africa involves more than just a shift in perceptions. It is about fundamentally transforming our realities. It is about building the Africa we want and shaping the international order we deserve. It is about telling a story of hope, resilience, and opportunity, not as public relations, but as a lived experience for all Africans. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, fellow Africans here, I address you today not as distant observers, but as active participants in this unfolding story. To the members of the Oxford Africa Society, you are part of a tradition of African excellence that spans generations. Your presence as this esteemed institution is not just a coincidence, it is crucial for the transformation of our continent. So, as you develop your knowledge and expand your networks, remember that you are not just building personal careers, but also contributing to a collective journey. Return to the continent, either physically or through your work, and apply your brilliance to our most pressing challenges. To policymakers and leaders like myself here, let us move beyond the rhetoric to implementation. Let our commitment to the African Agency be reflected in our budgets, policies, and diplomatic positions. Let us have the courage to challenge external demands when they do not serve our people's interests. To our international partners, we welcome collaboration that is grounded in mutual respect and shared interest. But understand that the era of externally imposed solutions is over. The most effective partnership, we recognize and amplify African agency rather than substitute for it. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, on May 25th, 1963, when representatives of 30 African nations convened in Addis Ababa to form the Organization of African Unity, Emperor Haile Selassie reminded them, and I quote, "The task on which we have embarked, the making of Africa, will not wait. We must act to shape and mold the future and leave our imprint on the events as they slip past into history." End of quote. 62 years later, as we gather on the eve of Africa Day, his words resonate with renewed urgency. Our sacred mission remains to unite our continent, restore its dignity, and secure its future. It will not be easy, but it is not beyond our reach. Africa is waiting. Africa is watching. The world is listening. History is waiting. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
We can do better than that, delegates. Let's appreciate His Excellency, the 5th President of Sierra Leone, His Excellency Julius Maada Bio.
Such an excellent I'm inspired. I'm so ready right now to go and run for presidency in Zambia because that was just an incredible address. What were your takeaways?
The principle of African agency, that's gone through every layer of the speech, and that's so inspiring, especially epistemic agency around our knowledge systems.
That's true.
That's a big one.
Yeah, that's a big one for me too. How do we create knowledge for ourselves? And it takes me back to just thinking for some of the students in here, your thesis is waiting for you, but it is going to add to the knowledge bank that the president just spoke about. So without further ado, please allow us to bring back to the stage Nina and His Excellency for a fireside chat. Thank you.
Most welcome.
Going to be there?
Wow, that was so powerful, very, very inspiring. And I can't emphasize this enough, but we are so honored that you've been able to take time out of your busy schedule to be here with us today. It means a great deal, not just to us, not just to Sierra Leone, and not just to West Africa or the African continent, but to everyone who is passionate and very, very keen on contributing to the progress of the continent. For me, especially as a woman in leadership, I'm very, very excited when I found out that you were a he for she campaign champion. And obviously that's not something we often see, that is prioritized in leadership spaces. And so for me, I'm very curious, what does gender equity mean to you personally? And how does that translate into policy and culture?
Thank you very much. I am a he for she, truly speaking, because I was fortunate, maybe, to have been raised by a single mother when I lost my dad at the age of 4. She did not have the fortune of going to school. She knew nothing about education. But because of her own values, tenacity, and hard work, she raised me single-handedly to be who I am today. May I so rest in peace. So for me, the agency in women I have witnessed firsthand, and maybe I'm a product of that. And that is why I value the contribution of women who have been put at the back. You know, most times in Africa, they should be in the kitchen. They should not be heard. So when I had the opportunity to be at the helm, I thought it was incumbent upon me to pay back.
That's really
and to also to help national contribution, because it's a disservice to say that you want to keep more than half of your population not engaged in the development process and think that we, the men, can do it all. That is a disservice. You must go full throttle on both sides. And the fact that women have not been fortunate because of structural restraints that we had put on them to be educated, to be empowered, and to be given equal opportunity, I thought my presidency would be a moment of liberation for them. And I've done quite a lot to liberate them, move them from the dungeons they have been placed, and to be wherever they can be. So we have had to pass the Women's Empowerment Bill, gender empowerment, and now women, at least starting from Parliament and all other positions, including the corporate space, you can have nothing less than 30% of women in Sierra Leone. Women can now own properties, which is not the case. So there's quite a lot involved in that. But that is my very first step. And I'm fortunate to have a wife who is an activist for women too, and a girl child, who has complemented my effort. I have led a people-centered administration. My programs have been people-centered. So what I have done is to make sure that the first reform actually was in the education sector. And that is because I know the power of education. So we made education, access to education free, and made it even more free for the girl child. If you were in Sierra Leone, you can go from preschool to the end of university because you are doing STEM discipline courses. You won't pay a dime. This is all for the women folk to catch up because they have been left behind for far too long. So there's quite a lot going on in that space. She recently, with the support of many others, she built a coalition to bring about prevention of early marriage, teenage marriage. Before, and in many African countries, even as I speak, girls at the age of 12, 11, 13 are being sent into marriage. Today in Sierra Leone, by law, and we are enforcing that law, it's a crime. There is a law, and we just passed that in addition to the gender bill that we passed. There was a time when rape of young girls and women became so rampant, I had to declare an emergency. And we put in place so many measures. This is all to protect the women, their dignity, and to allow them, especially the young girls, to nurture them and support them so that they can be equal partners. They can never become women of substance if we do not nurture them, if we do not give them a special place. So I have been considered a he for she because the only parent I had was a she.
Yes.
And she did a good job, as you can see.
She did. Wow, that's so powerful. Your Excellency, if I may, I want to ask you one final question. And that's because across Sierra Leone and the wider West African region, you are definitely seen as someone who is committed to laying down the foundations for transformation. And I read about what you do. I'm sitting with you having conversations, and I'm in awe. What drives you? Like, what drives that approach, and what keeps you going?
Maybe I need to give you a sneak preview into my past.
Yes.
As a former military man, and I've had the opportunity of leading the government. And I thought it was necessary that I had so much experience. And during the intervening years, when I left and I went back to become democratically elected, I lived in very developed democracies around the world. I lived here, I lived in France, and I also lived in the United States. You cannot undertake fundamental reforms in a system and want it to survive without laying the foundation.
That's true.
So, I normally make the analogy, if you want to build a skyscraper, the foundation must be as strong as how high you want to go. So for me, we are pushed into, what is your priority? For me, I know that in the 21st century, education is the best foundation. The human capital. And when I talk about human capital, I mean taking care, feeding the mind through education, feeding this belly, the tummy, through food security, and taking care of the being through health. So this is what we call human capital. It's not just about education or maybe health. We combine all of these to mean human capital development. If you have a healthy person that is well educated and, of course, not malnourished, they are fit to go and they can survive anywhere in the world. So that is my mission. And to make Sierra Leoneans competitive around the world, as we were before, we were referred to as the Athens of West Africa because the first Western university south of the Sahara was founded in Sierra Leone in 1827.
That's powerful.
So, for me, our prowess then was projected not because of weapons or any other thing, but because of knowledge, formation, and sharing, which we did very well at the Frobe College. So I am eager to bring Sierra Leone back to its glory, especially in the 21st century. And that is why I've insisted on fit-for-purpose education. Fit-for-purpose education, one that will take them anywhere and they will be competitive, not just stay home and get employment and not produce. They have to be productive, they have to be healthy, and of course, they cannot be productive if they are not well educated.
That's really powerful. Please, another round of applause for His Excellency. You have given us such a powerful keynote, and this conversation has, I think everyone in this room is leaving here today inspired and empowered by your wisdom, by your words, by your knowledge. Thank you so, so much, His Excellency.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Thanks to Nina. Thank you so, so much. We are delighted to just curate those nuggets. And I would like you for just a minute or so, if you would be seated and share with the person seated beside you, what is it that has stood out for you? There are certain things that the president has highlighted. I've had something around human capital, very, very important, human capital, solid education, food security, and good health. And so as we transition to the next session, these are things that we're going to mull over and see how we can implement in our context. Luhano, what's next?
Thank you so much, George. And up next, we have a fireside chat. And it's such an honor for me to introduce the two women that are going to come and speak on this stage. So allow me to introduce Professor Woods, who is the founding dean here at the Blavatnik School of Government and professor of global economic governance here at Oxford. She's phenomenal, and she will be in conversation with
somebody who truly inspires me, so I might be fangirling here, but please allow me to usher to the stage Dr. Ngozi Okonje,
who is, thank you. Dr. Ngozi is the first woman and African to lead the World Trade Organization. She is a global finance expert, an economist, and international development professional with over 40 years of experience working globally.
Thank you.
Yeah, she has served as Minister of Finance in Nigeria and is a global advocate for inclusive trade and development. She's truly a trailblazer, and so we'll be having two incredible women here in conversation. So please give them another round of applause because they do deserve it.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, good morning, folks. Can I start by just saying huge congratulations to the entire Africa Society Committee and all the students who weren't on the committee but who came together to make this conference possible. You organized, you fundraised, you persuaded some of the world's most inspiring leaders to come speak to you, so huge congratulations. I am truly honored always to be in a conversation with Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala. You know, some people think that you make it to the top in public service by networking or by being in the right place at the right time or by being nice to the right people. And you're probably wrong. I have next to me somebody who was educated entirely in Nigeria and applied to Harvard University to do economics as an undergraduate, and she completely nailed it. She graduated magna cum laude from one of the toughest economics programs in the world. Hold on, hold on. She then did brilliantly in a degree in city planning and then applied to do her doctorate at the most difficult doctoral program in economics in the world at MIT. And there she excelled. And the lesson here, folks, is sharpen your brains. Be the sharpest, most precise tool. That's the first thing I want to say about Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala. She is a truly sharp precision tool. She is all these other things, a wonderful human being that everybody around the world loves to work with, and a very honest and frank one that people trust. But at your age, she was sharpening her brain. She put in the work. She excelled.
And from there, she went to a brilliant 25-year career in the World Bank, rising to being managing director and doing possibly the best job that a managing director has done. And I say that as a scholar of the World Bank, so it's an informed view. Ngozi then served not once but twice as finance minister in her home country of Nigeria. And she's now got, well, I mean, you've always had the toughest jobs in the world, but now you really do have one as Director General of the World Trade Organization. Now, I'm going to start today's conversation with just 3 quite big questions to Ngozi, and then I'm going to come right to you for your questions to her. So be ready. Be ready with the question you want to ask. Make it short, make it sharp, and let's take this conversation forward. I want to start, Ngozi, and by the way, I didn't mention that I'm very proud that she's also got an honorary degree from this university, the University of Oxford.
Welcome
you,
back to the school. I want to start, Ngozi, with President Bio just said,
bring your brilliance home to your own country. And you did that. Now, a lot of graduate students at Oxford from the continent think that they'll have much more impact if they go and work at the World Bank or the IMF. Now, you've done that.
But you also went home as finance minister. And I just wanted to start by your reflection on that call that President Bio gave this group, bring your brilliance home. In your experience, it would be invidious to say, compare how much impact you had on your own country in the World Bank versus being finance minister, but reflect for us what it means to bring your brilliance home.
Well, thank you, Naira, and let me join you in saying congratulations to the Oxford Africa Society for organizing this event. And it's good to be back in the Blavatnik School and with you, Naira, and to congratulate the First Lady of Sierra Leone and His Excellency for their presence. I think that there's no dichotomy in my mind between having served in the World Bank and having served in my country. I think that one helped the other in a way, and I want to explain what I mean. I never actually intended to work in the World Bank, to be honest. So my father was someone who believed totally in coming home to serve, and he also believed he had 2 daughters and 5 sons, and my father was a professor of economics, mathematical economics. So I actually grew up not liking economics because the books looked too boring. But eventually I ended up in that field and do not regret it. He believed in, you can go outside if you want to get educated, but you must come home to serve. And he really did that in us. But as I also was in graduate school at MIT, even when I was an undergraduate, I saw that there were not very many Africans in this global institutions and organizations. And I wondered why, and I wondered what impact it had. So I had this curiosity that maybe it would be good to have experience there. And I went to the World Bank as a summer intern when I was in graduate school, and saw for myself, and that experience, the work was extremely interesting, but I thought I could learn much more about why other parts of the world were developing faster than we were, and maybe there were some lessons I could take back. That's what really got me to then applying for the Young Professionals Program, and getting in, and then it became a career. And subsequently, in between, I went back twice to be finance minister and foreign minister. Actually, the one longest serving, 7 years as finance minister, which is not easy, and then foreign affairs minister for a short time. So my reflection is this. When I was at the bank, I wanted to see why were we not on the continent developing as fast as I thought we should. Why did we have the East Asian miracle of East Asian countries that had started in the 1960s with the same level of per capita income, stripping away whilst we were still being held back? And I began to look and see what it is they were doing, we were not doing, and to acquire that knowledge. And then I thought, at a particular time, it was also serendipity, I thought I should go and give back. So I actually, on my own, decided to take a leave of absence. And that was a time when President Obasanjo came to power and needed somebody to help with the debt, the country's debt. We owed $30 billion, but it was, no one had a good record of where, no systematic record of how much we owed, whom we owed it to, when we should pay, and all that. And debt service was lagging. So he was looking for someone, and someone suggested my name. So I took a leave of absence on my own to go back for, it was 9 months, 6 to 9 months, to just work with him on this debt issue. He was really obsessed by it, that we must get rid of the debt. When I went the first time, what he said to me was, I want to press a button and get a piece of paper printout that shows how much we owe, who we owe it to, when we should service the debt, how much we should service. And so I said, okay. So I worked at it. Our debt was in 7 different agencies: the Central Bank, the Ministry of Finance, here, there, everywhere. And so, to cut a long story short, it was quite a task to pull all this together, get the software, and we used the Commonwealth, and this would please Patricia, Scotland, when she was there. No, and when I told her the Commonwealth debt management software, we created a debt management office that didn't exist. I told him we needed to do that, and it's there today. And we put the software, the hardware, everything in, and he did indeed get to press the button and get everything. Then I went back to the bank after my leave of absence that I took on my own. And a couple of years later, he decided he needed a finance minister who could help get rid of this debt. And he said, that woman who came and helped, I think she can help us get rid of the debt. So he invited me back. He didn't actually ask me. He called the president of the World Bank then, Jim Wolfenson, and said, I need this woman to come and be my finance minister. Nobody asked me. I wasn't planning. It wasn't in my career plan. So I was sitting in my office. At that time, I was vice president of the bank and corporate secretary. And my office was next to the president. So he walks in and says to me, you're going to be finance minister of Nigeria. And I said, Jim, is that a dream or what? And he said, no, it's true. And I just spoke to your president. He asked that you do that. And I said, but you didn't ask me. We've got a couple of children in university at this time. We don't want to take loans, to pay for them. And if I leave, that's... Anyway, he said, you've got to go. So when I thought about it, I spoke with my husband and so on, and then the children, and we decided I should go and do it. So that's when I got there. The technical expertise and knowledge I had acquired working in the bank really helped. And this is why I do not think there's a dichotomy. I think if you serve outside, let's say in a multilateral or even private sector, you should try to take that knowledge and experience back to solve a problem. Okay? And it doesn't have to be in government only. You can set up in the private sector, in civil society, but try to help solve a problem. And that's what I did. And then we got rid of the debt. We got the debt relief, which gave me gray hair. But $30 billion got written off, and we cleared it. And $18 billion was completely written off, and we found innovative scheme. We were the first country allowed to buy back, the first low income at that time or developing country allowed to buy back its own debt. We bought 12 billion at 25 cents on the dollar. We got 18 billion forgiven, and we paid 6 billion. So,
and I just want to say, yeah, absolutely. I remember asking people in the bank why Ngozi had been so successful as managing director and corporate secretary, and it's a success that you took into the finance ministry. And they all said the same thing. They said, Ngozi, partly because she's so smart herself, she hires and surrounds herself. She builds a team of the smartest people in the organization. Of course, there were people in the World Bank that weren't very pleased with that because you poached their best. But it tells us two things. One, the ability to spot and recognize the smartest people. And the other thing is the ability to attract them to work with you rather than working with whoever they were working with previously. I just wanted to note that. Let's move to your day job now, right?
Can I just say something with that? I just want to say that no one succeeds alone. You need a team. Even in the government at that time, we built an economic team. And I really believe in teams, and I like to surround myself with young people. We have one, Miss Nicole Mensa, who is my special assistant. And she herself is very smart. She has a summa cum laude in economics from Cornell and a master's in applied economics, so a first-class degree. So you find, and as the president said, on the continent we don't lack smart people. So I build my teams, including with young, smart Africans.
Now I want to come to the world at the moment. We have a new American administration, and their preferred foreign policy and trade policy is one which goes deal by deal, individual country by individual country. Some would describe it for other countries as like trying to ride a bronco in some ways. But for the continent of Africa, so richly and widely represented here today, what does it mean? Should individual countries on the continent be trying to do sweetheart deals with President Trump, because that seems to be his preferred way of operating, or should they try to hold together and negotiate en masse? What's your view?
Naira, that is such a $1 million question. Because, and I will have to find a very clever way to answer it. Because the WTO is very different from the World Bank in one way. Somebody in my position as the Director General must not say anything that interferes in the relationship between members. It's called a member-driven organization. And the reason is anything I say, because we're the only ones who have a justice system or a court, or I don't know how it's the dispute settlement system where one member can bring the other. Anything you say can be used in evidence if a case is brought. So if the Africans decide to bring the US or US the Africans, and US is still our member, they can say, you said these words, and that prejudiced something. So I have to answer in a very considered fashion. Just to let you know, I'm not trying to escape. I'm pretty direct and blunt in my approach. I think there are two things. First of all, like you've always said, the US reciprocal tariffs have caused an enormous disruption in the world of trade. And no doubt the unilateral approach has upended some of what the WTO's multilateral approach is about. So there's no doubt about that. And when you speak to the US, to those in charge, be it Ambassador Gray or Secretary Lutnick, the Senator, and so on, as we've been doing, they'll explain that they did that because they were frustrated with the inability to get what they thought was good for the US through the multilateral system. So they decided we'll do something unilateral. And so they announced these tariffs. I don't think anyone was expecting quite the extent and sweep. I knew the tariffs were coming, but across virtually every country, I think that was a bit of a surprise. So, so they've caused a disruption because they had complaints about the way the system worked. They are not the only ones. The developing countries had complaints that the system wasn't working as well for them as they wanted. Other developed countries, the EU and so on, also had complaints. I mean, the Americans said that there was an unlevel playing field. Certain members were carrying on unfair practices. As you've seen, there were too many barriers being put up by countries. They were not liberalizing non-tariff barriers and so on. So all members had different kinds of complaints, and then they've caused this disruption. So you have to, and I'm coming to what it means for Africa, but the fundamental thing is to ask yourself, when you have a disruption, what do? Do you react quickly and maybe not strategically and do the wrong thing? Or do you think deliberately and strategically and see how you can turn a disruption into something actually productive and good? That's the direction in which I'm moving. And which I want the organization to move. So, so one of the good things that has come out of this, the silver lining, is that the 166 WTO members have suddenly realized just how precious the system is. Because I say the trade rules and the world trading system is a little bit like air. I always say, the air you breathe, you take it for granted. You will come out and there'll be oxygen and you'll breathe. You don't think twice about it until something happens. The trading system, you go into a store or wherever, the goods you want are there. And you don't think twice about how is it there, what are the rules, how does it work? We are the custodians of the rules that make trade in the world go round. And they've come to realize that stability, predictability, and in trade is really important. So that's one silver lining. But they're also gradually realizing that there are faults in the system that need to be fixed. And this is where Africa or the least developed countries come in. One of the problems we have is that and Africa has not benefited as much from the system as it should. Our trade has remained over the decades at less than 3% of world trade, when we have so much in terms of resources, and we must ask ourselves why. By the same token, because we are not that well integrated into world trade, the impact of the reciprocal tariffs and all that is not as much as you would think. It doesn't hit us in terms of our trade as much as one would have expected. It doesn't hit because, trade with the US is a very small percentage of our trade altogether. And trade with the world is a small percentage of our trade.
But does the disruption in trade with other countries indirectly affect the continent very much? The possibility of diversion from China?
Yeah, I'll come to that. Right. But what I want to say is that trade of Africa with the rest of the world hasn't been as much disrupted. But what I want to say is this: in spite of the reciprocal tariffs, 74% of world trade still takes place on WTO terms. So prior to the tariffs at the beginning of the year, it was 80% on most favored nation reciprocal terms. It's come down to 74% because of the impact of the tariffs. But that's 3/4 of world's goods trade is still going on WTO terms. So that's pretty major. So there's disruption, but it's not as significant as you would think. And because Africa is not so integrated into US trade, it's not being hit as much. That is not to say that there are not countries that are really badly hit. So there are a handful of countries on the continent that have high reciprocal tariffs that are badly hit. I think the poster child of that is Lesotho, with 50% reciprocal tariffs, $200 million in textile exports to the US. This is 10% of their GDP in trade to the US. And they're hit with this. So obviously, this heavily impacts their trade. We calculated that with this, they would lose 0.2 to 0.5% of their GDP growth rate, which is already low. So this is highly impactful on them. There's also Côte d'Ivoire, I think with 21% or so reciprocal tariffs compared to 10% for Ghana, that is next door, and they both have the same product. It was very interesting when the minister from Côte d'Ivoire called, and members called to ask the impact, and we do the analysis, saying their cocoa might be diverted to Ghana. This is an unintended consequence, because if they're facing higher tariffs and Ghana lower, guess what will happen to traders? And that was a very interesting thing. Mauritius, Madagascar, and several other of the countries, Botswana, that have high tariffs. So we have a handful of them. When you analyze, you see they'll be heavily impacted. So the picture for these countries is different from that for the continent, where we are not, in terms of our GDP growth rate, it's really minimal.
So if you're an African country, if you're advising the government of Côte d'Ivoire or of Madagascar, should they be putting their efforts into a deal with the United States, their own special deal with the United States, or should they be putting their efforts into the Continental Free Trade Agreement or into the, whether it's the Southern African, SADC agreement or East African agreement? What should they do?
I think there are two approaches. First of all, the US wants to only speak to countries bilaterally. They've made that very clear. And the reason, and from the WTO perspective, I think that without saying too much, the tariffs are just one aspect of the discussions that are going on. There are other things that is beyond the WTO's terms of reference when it comes to taking immigrants or your critical minerals or energy deals and so on and so forth. So they want a bilateral conversation. So I don't think you can escape that. And we encourage the countries, our members, to indeed go the path of dialogue. But you should do your homework before you have this conversation. So if you rush in without having thought through, what's my share of trade here? What do I want? How do I want it? And you just go, well, then the consequences will follow. At the same time, we have made the case that the job we want to do is to integrate the continent into the world trading system, not to separate it. And therefore, we are actually saying two things. If you've read some of the things that have been saying publicly in the papers and so on, is one, can Africa be exempt from these reciprocal tariffs? Because the impact, even if it's not major, but it's preemptive. If you wanted to get into the US market, this will make that so much harder, even with the 10% tariffs. And so we are arguing that if we want this integration, and Africa is the market of the future, surely you want market access yourself in the future. Why would you make it more difficult for the continent to integrate? So we're arguing collectively on that basis. So I think the continent needs a collective approach, on the one hand, to argue for the trade preferences that were there before under the AGOA, which now look very dim. But they also need their own bilateral approach to develop that very strongly if they're going to discuss and dialogue and negotiate with the US. And of course, if you have critical minerals and others, I think you should be very smart about the way you go about it. You certainly don't want to sign things now that the young people in this room 10 years later will ask, who signed this deal? And please, if you can spend the money to get good lawyers, that will help, because these natural resource deals need very specialized expertise. As you saw with Ukraine also, to be able to make sure you have conditions that are beneficial to your country. You need that. And members were asking me, and I reminded them that there's a fund at the African Development Bank that pays for legal expertise. So if you don't have the money, please go there and try to make sure you're well briefed. So two strategies, continental, together, to see how the preferences that were there before can be restored, the AGOA. I don't hold out too much hope, I have to tell you, because the Americans have made clear that preferences are not the way they want to go, but I still think the continent should go for it. And then the bilateral approach in which you need to look at your own particular negotiating position and arm yourself with expertise and strength.
I'm probably not allowed to ask you, but I mean, you're a brilliant economist and you're also a seasoned politician.
I don't think I'm a seasoned politician at all.
And you don't have to answer this. It's just that, those of us who have watched the ritual humiliation handed out to President Zelensky, to President Ramaphosa, which just kind of, I don't know, I think it fills a lot of us with a collective shame that the White House is being used ritually to humiliate leaders of other countries. But it just makes me go, what's the best advice we can give to a president that says, should I go and try and do a deal and find myself in front of the cameras and be embarrassed or humiliated, or should I not? Should I send others to negotiate for me? But you don't have to answer that. But if you have advice for people,
I think that that president should do their homework. They have people working for them.
Yeah.
I certainly wouldn't go unless my team had nailed things. And been able to speak with those who are also negotiating on behalf of the US, sort out what the temperature was towards the country, what is wanted, prepared themselves very carefully, and then done a bit of homework on how to approach a very tricky situation in which you're in front of the cameras and anything can happen. So I would spend more time, Naire, at the lower levels doing the work than anything
and I think
else.
what makes it so hard for countries from the continent at the moment is there aren't interlocutors on the other side. I was speaking to the president of one country who'd been trying to do all the footwork with a team of 14 in the NSC, all of whom were fired by the time the visit came around. And so it was like, how do we... Anyway.
Yeah, I think that... I think that with respect to trade, I mean, there might be other things where there's no footwork. I think countries need to realize that there are some big countries, there are at least 15 to 18, who make up about 87% of the US's trade. And that's what they'll be focused on first.
Yeah.
So if you're a teeny little country with very little trade, I mean, the entire continent, I'm trying to remember, I think as a percent, our exports are maybe 6%. Of our total exports go to the US, and imports about 4%, something like that. That's as a continent. And so that's why I said on the one hand it's good because we had very little trade, but on the other hand it's not good, meaning we were not trading enough. But if you're in that category, I don't think anyone will be rushing to pay too much attention to you. So that gives you the space to do your homework and reach out and prepare well. You don't need to be, if no one is going to answer the phone because you're so negligible and not so important, why are you rushing to pick up the phone. Do your homework so that when you can get through on the phone, you'll be ready. That's my advice.
Let's come to China, playing a huge role in the continent, particularly since 2005. But I'm thinking more about the WTO. You're the only one in this room who's right in that room all the time. And it struck me that when the United States last failed to confirm a judge to the WTO's appellate body, so that's where countries can take complaints for adjudication, and it's frozen because the US, both parties in the United States have refused to let that body continue working. But when they last did it, what was striking to me is that the Chinese government immediately circulated a paper to all members affirming its commitment to the multilateral system. And it's a pattern I'm seeing across lots of multilaterals, that as the United States steps back and says we'd rather do this bilaterally, China is publicly declaring that it wants to support the multilateral system and the multilateral institutions. And what does that feel like when you're Director General of the WTO and you're dealing in a world of tumult that you've just described?
Yeah, well, I said to you, I almost didn't make it here because it's a constant challenge. But I'll answer it in a couple of ways. I think the multilateral system is under tremendous challenge. But if you step back and think about it, this system, if it didn't exist, would have to be created. And I used to say that about the WTO after I took over, that if the WTO didn't exist, you'd have to create it. Because trade has to go on under certain rules, or it's a jungle. If you don't have those rules, a little bit of the disruption we are seeing, then it becomes a power-based system. And when you have a power-based system, the weakest lose. So we need the multilateral system. And it's under challenge now. So I think, and yes, it is true, not only China certainly is making it clear, but other members, like I said, the EU, the UK, Switzerland, Singapore, everybody is stepping forward to say, wow, we now see even more value for the WTO. We see a value for the multilateral system. We want to keep it. And that's a good message. I think on the other side is to ask yourself, why did the United States do what it did? You may not like it, but you must interrogate yourself to say, why did it happen? How did we get here? And I think we have to be honest that there are things about the systems that need change, whether it's at the WTO, at the IMF, or the World Bank. You look at the international financial institutions, and the quota, the shareholding system needs to change to reflect the way the world economy is structured now, with countries in the global south gaining more share of the global economy. That has to be done. You come to the WTO, there are criticisms of the way that the world trading system functions now that needs to be changed. And this is why you should say, why did the Americans do? Not just stop at saying, oh, they did this, but why did they do it? What are the reasons? They say there's an unfair trade practices on the parts of some members, unlevel playing field. There are some of the agreements at the WTO that are not fit for purpose, in my view, like the agreement on subsidies and countervailing measures. So, sorry to talk jargon, that governs the way that subsidies are used. And that was put in place before China joined in the 90s when WTO was created. Nothing has happened. It doesn't take account of the need for green subsidies. It doesn't take into account, what happens in different structured economies. So that's the kind of thing you need to ask yourself. Then you come to the system, the judicial system. We call it the dispute settlement system or dispute settlement understanding. They criticize, but the system, that there was overreach on the part of the second tier appellate body, and they blocked because some judgments, if you want to call it that came down, they disagreed and thought the appellate body had overreached, and they had other criticisms, takes too long. Well, you have to ask yourself, is there something in the way the dispute settlement system works that can be improved? By the way, it works. And this is the other thing. The WTO allowed itself to be characterized just by this jewel in the crown, the dispute settlement system. So everybody thinks that things are not working because it doesn't work. Even that system has 2 tiers, the panel level and the appellate body, which is where the judges were blocked. But the panel level is working full-time, and actually the complaint of the Americans was that it was being used as a first resort when members have disputes instead of a last resort. So as soon as you have a dispute, you are supposed to talk to each other, find ways of settling it, but people would immediately take a case to the court, and they objected to that. Now that the appellate body is not working as well, people are using the panel and then finding an alternative way to settle when the report comes out. And there are 43 disputes before the panel right now. And we have about 13 that have been settled on a dialogue basis, twice their number that was done, that we had in 2019 when the appellate body was hobbled. So the system is working imperfectly. It needs to be reformed. We need to look at all those criticisms. So all I'm saying, Naira, in short, is we have challenges and disruptions. This disruption has caused a crisis. And in my view, we must not waste the crisis. We must use the crisis as an opportunity to make those reforms, at least in my organization, that were not made and need to be made, including for developing countries who feel that some of the rules don't work so well for them. Well, you know,
that's a wonderful rallying cry for the WTO. If we can just, my last question is about how, coming back to countries across the continent of Africa, who are now faced with big powers, each wanting their allegiance. The United States comes calling, China comes calling, the European Union comes calling, the United Arab Emirates comes calling, the Saudis come calling, and also the regional organizations of the continent come calling. How should the leaders of each country on the continent frame this? So as they face each of these delegations saying, no, we want you to, we want to be your best friend. We want your alliance. How do they make sense of that? How can this group make sense of that?
Well, my strong advice to our leaders is to practice polyandry. And that is to marry them all. So, this is, my mother was a sociologist, and she was the one who first taught me this. So you have polygamy, where the men are marrying so many wives. Polyandry is the opposite. You can marry many husbands. So practice polyandry. All these people are coming and saying, we want this, we want that. We want your allegiance. You don't have to have allegiance to any one power. But you can have a partnership with each one that delivers something for you. So it means you need to know what you want. The continent as a whole, I think, should know what it wants, because there are also some continental opportunities that can be seized and subcontinental, but each country needs to know, what do I want? And how do I harness this? There's nothing that says you have to go with this or with that or with the other. And many of the countries are telling me that's precisely what they don't want. They don't want to be caught in the middle between big powers. This is why when China, US had this escalation, we went public with the analysis of what will it mean for the world if we actually broke into 2 trading blocks. 7% loss in global GDP. If we broke into 2 trade, that's huge. And 14% welfare losses for developing countries. We are working on the EU 50% tariff as I speak, not just on what it means for EU-US trade, but the repercussions on the rest of the world. So countries don't want to be caught. And we told with this analysis, the plea to the US and China was, please come together, de-escalate, try to negotiate, because the consequences are too harsh for the rest of the world. And so luckily we got some de-escalation. The Swiss helped to bring them together and so on. So for African countries, Nairi, this is my advice. Be wise, marry them all, have a strategy, know how you want to slot it, and when you're trying to be boxed into a corner, one from to the other, try to see if you can avoid it. And don't get yourself into agreements and partnerships that down the line, the young people are going to ask you, how did you do this? It's very tempting to jump into these things, but you need your own strategy.
And that's another answer to President Biyo's declaration, bring your brilliance home. Ngozi's telling you, your brilliance is now needed at home more than ever before, because your country needs to know what its interests are and then to pursue them. Let me take some questions from the audience. So let me take this one here. Yeah. Mariam. Do introduce yourself.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you for your transformative leadership, Her Excellency Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala. I want to say thank you again for the launch of the Wade Fund on the March 7th. Congratulations on that.
Thank
and
you.
the fund's initiative is pretty much to empower women entrepreneurs using digital tools. So my name is Genius Mapalomukuka, a youth advocate and co-founder of an NGO back in my home country, Zambia. So my question is, seeing that the digital transformation is heavily reliant on infrastructure, what is WTO and ITC doing to help governments and maybe collaborate with development banks to help bridge that infrastructure gap in Africa? And also, beyond the initial grant, beyond the initial technical support, what's the long-term strategy for building a sustainable ecosystem that will help the beneficiaries of the fund beyond the intervention? So that's kind of two questions. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Would you like to take them one at a time, or would you like me to take a couple?
Maybe take a
I'll take a couple. So the one back there, hand back there. Yep. Do introduce yourself.
Good afternoon. It's a pleasure
Hold the microphone right.
to be here and to hear some of the wise words from your experience. My name is Camilla Talam. I work as a macroeconomist at the Oxford Martin School here at Oxford. I have two short questions. One, are there elements of industrial policy that can benefit both domestic consumption and trade without a trade-off of either for a country? And the second one, what principles can Africa take on when negotiating economic partnerships to negotiate ones that derive the most benefits for its growth and development? Thank you.
Great. And then one at the back there.
Maybe, since there are like 4 questions, maybe I'll do this.
Great.
And if I forget, you remind me.
Yes. So would you like to take those two and then?
Yeah, if I
Great.
take these two, yeah.
Lovely.
So thank you. Yes, the Wide Fund is a women's fund, women's empowerment fund that we just launched at the WTO to benefit women in digital trade, because we're finding that on our continent in particular, but also in the Caribbean, Latin America, elsewhere in the world, women are trading digitally. And digital trade is the fastest growing segment of trade. Services trade is growing very fast, faster than goods trade, but digitally delivered services trade is growing much faster. It was actually growing at about 8% per year, which is phenomenally. So we decided to see who is in this, who is involved, and how can we help. And so we launched this fund with the sister or daughter organization, the International Trade Center, a $50 million fund to empower women trading digitally. Now, of course, you trade digitally if digital infrastructure is decent, and we know there is a big digital divide. So what we try to do, we are not a financing agency. We can raise these kinds of funds. We have technical assistance funds, which we use to help countries. But for big infrastructure, we went to partner with the World Bank. because our members were telling us that, look, we need to do something about this divide. And we have a pilot project ongoing now with about, how many? 8 African countries with the Africa region of the World Bank. We are looking at the gaps in their digital infrastructure to see what are these gaps and what needs to be filled. So 8 countries are part of it. We will work with the soft infrastructure because you need regulatory systems to deal with digital trade, and many of our countries don't have it. And the hope is that when we finish these studies, the World Bank will put the money for the hard infrastructure to help lay it down. So we're actually trying to do something through partnership. With respect to the ecosystem, to support the wide fund. So one, we want to use this fund to scale up. With women, I'm tired of hearing stories of little pilot startups and programs. So we're actually looking for women who are succeeding, who need to get to the next level, and then give them a substantial amount of money so they can scale. And we're hoping that when they scale, they will become more attractive to financial institutions. And we'll work with them in some cases to showcase them to existing financial institutions in their environment and elsewhere, so that the ecosystem can be built by the financial system getting involved. You know, and it works. We tried something like this when I was finance minister in Nigeria, and we created so many young entrepreneurs who are flourishing today. So get them into the existing financial infrastructure so that they can become self-sufficient and dependent and not waiting for grant funding or government funding later. With respect to industrial policy, is there industrial policy that can be both beneficial, you said domestically, as well as externally? You know, industrial policy has become the rage again. When we were in graduate school, industrial policy sometimes was seen as a dirty word. Yep. But I do believe that there is a way that you can do industrial policy still respecting our rules at the World Trade Organization that can benefit. You know, you have the infant industry argument. You have at the WTO something we call special and differential treatment. Every time we have an agreement, developing countries have the right to have some exceptions to implementation or to take a longer time to implement, and they are always fighting to make this better and improved, and they have a point. So to that effect, the idea that perhaps there's a regime of tariffs you can utilize for a specific period of time in order for your industry to grow before you then have to open up, because it's been proven that if you continue protecting for any long period of time, you never become competitive. We've tried that before as import substitution. It didn't work. So yes, domestically there can be a way that it can be done, so you can build your manufacturing or industrial capacity. And there's an ongoing debate at the WTO now by developing countries looking for policy space for industrialization, and this is one of the areas that they are looking at. But the new industrial policy that wants to also favor green industrialization, where there is a search by members for what sorts of green subsidies will be permissible. Now, this is why I think we need to look at our existing agreement that was made 30 years ago and ask if it's fit for purpose and whether we renegotiate to take account of these kinds of issues. Very good issues that you raise. Economic partnership agreements, the principles you negotiate. You know, to take a bit of interesting conversation, but one of the things we need to look at when we are negotiating these agreements, one of the things that keeps African countries back is we never add value to our products. We are not going to capture any bigger slice of the international market. And it's not only because the rules are against us, but we need to look inside and say, what are we not doing right? And when we do it right, what's holding it back? If we add value to our product, is there tariff escalation? And there is. That's where we need to fight externally, to see that if you add value to your cocoa and it becomes chocolate, you suddenly see that if you try to export it to Switzerland, I was telling the Swiss the other day, you know, that it's not only in Switzerland we can make good chocolate. You know, you can also make it in Ghana, and they are doing it, and in Nigeria, and in Côte d'Ivoire. And then you can remove the tariffs that are layered on when you try to export finished or value-added products. This is some of the challenges we face outside, externally, that we have to fight. But inside, we are still exporting largely raw commodities. And one of the fights that we're having, or not fights, but one of the things we're trying to encourage at the WTO is decentralization of supply chains to parts of the world that have not benefited from world trade. And Africa is one of them. We're running out of time, but let me just say this, because this is so important. I took the job at the WTO because when I saw the purpose of the organization as written in the Marrakesh Agreement, I said to myself, wow, this is so compelling, but this is not what's happening. The WTO was created, its purpose written down is to enhance living standards, to help create employment, and to support sustainable development. What could be better than that? This is all about people, helping people. But who knows that? How many of you knew that in the audience, that this is what the WTO is about? Did you know that? How many? Tell me. 2, 3. Oh, no, you don't count, Nicole. 2 people. Young people. When I took the job, one of my sons said, Mommy, you can't take a job in that organization. It's against people. And I said, no. Let me show you. I didn't invent it. So we must change this organization to deliver its purpose. That's why I went there. Because it's not delivering enough for us on the continent. And now, and my thing is that why I went into international organizations is I saw there are not enough people from Africa, developing countries. We can't just sit back and point at them. We need to go there and change it. And it's a monumental task. But at least to myself, I said, if by the time I leave, I've chipped away at a few things that will make things better for the continent. That is, and one of the things we're working on now is trying to persuade businesses and supply chains to decentralize to the continent. Working with Dr. Tedros at WHO and WIPO, we have a tripartite agreement. We are succeeding on pharmaceuticals. We are on manufacture of vaccines. We now have 3 or 4 countries where regional manufacturing capacity is being built so that we can manufacture our own vaccines, as Mr. President said, and our own pharmaceuticals. We need a pharmaceutical supply chain on the continent. We don't need to import 80%, 90% of our pharmaceuticals and 95% of our vaccines. That's what we're doing now. Secondly, critical minerals. We have all these critical minerals, but no value is added to them on the continent. We must insist all the way to EV batteries. It will take years to develop it, but why not? If we have these minerals, let's bid for subcontinental supply chains or continental, so that for the future we can create value. Those are just 2 agro-allied supply chains, another area where there is promise. So I can tell you, I can see it. There's opportunity here now with this crisis to attract but what must we do? They won't just come. And we are not the only countries in the world bidding for investment. We have to look internally. Our trade costs are too high. Our infrastructure is lacking. And so much so we are not even trading with ourselves. We're all talking of African Continental Free Trade Area, but it's 16% trade among us. EU is 62%. If that's the North Star of integration, we should be looking at those numbers. So we need to do better internally to make our countries investment friendly. And we've actually launched an agreement at the WTO called the Investment Facilitation for Development Agreement with 127 countries. If you sign on once we get it done, it's going to make countries that sign on look a little more attractive. They have to still work hard, but they will look more attractive. That is something I really want to see done at the WTO as our own contribution. No aid is coming, please. We need two things: attract investment and mobilize more of our own domestic resources. Otherwise, we're not going to be attractive to global supply chains. Thank you.
I have a lot of hands. Can I keep going for a couple of minutes, or do we need to close? I'm looking for the MCs. Where are the organizers?
She
Are we
says I
okay?
have 5 minutes.
Brilliant, brilliant,
5
fantastic. So I'm going to take a flurry. I'm going to take those 4, but really quick, 1 question each. You can't say, I've got 4. So just the 4 over here, but very quick, 1 question each, so that everyone can get their chance.
Yes, so
yep.
Thank you so much. I'm Iyola, and I'm a vaccine researcher with the Oxford Vaccine Group here at the University of Oxford. And thank you for mentioning about vaccine development and manufacturing in Africa, because that relates to my question. So in June 2024, the African Vaccine Manufacturing Accelerator Program was launched, and this is to invest $1.2 billion over the next 10 years. And my question is, what are the foreseeable challenges you see with Africa achieving the goal of manufacturing 60% of their vaccines by 2040? And how can WTO as an organization help with this? Thank you so much.
Great. And pass the... Yep, next.
Dr. Ngozi, it's a privilege to be here. I'm currently reading a postgrad in financial strategy. I've got a very quick question when it comes to negotiation. You mentioned that the US have demanded to negotiate with individual countries in Africa. And of course they would, when it comes, it's in their best interest, and they wouldn't dictate that in Europe. But surely, shouldn't a unity of Africa would provide a greater negotiation force in the medium to long term? Thank you.
Great, and across to this, across to this gentleman here. And what you, and then next. Yep. No, take that question. Yes,
Cool.
Stay with it.
Dr. Ngozi, it's a privilege to have you here as well. I'm a big fan of your work. We last met in New York on the economics of water, and we partnered together. My name is Charles Chichinda. I'm a Master Public Policy at Blavatnik here. My question is, obviously when it comes to trade, I believe it's a lot more about bargaining power. And I think weaponization of interdependence when it comes to trade has been a big issue. You've talked about decentralizing supply chains, and much of Africa is all embedded in neocolonialism. So I wondered what your thoughts were for Africa, especially the African Union, to build a lot of capacity in order to ensure that we have a lot more bargaining power. It doesn't really matter even if we got mineral resources, whatever it is. But if supply chains are controlled by superpowers, then you pretty much have no bargaining power. So I wondered what your reflection was, because I mean, negotiating on individual countries is another thing, but I think for the AU is a key thing.
Great question, and then over to this gentleman. Yep.
Thank you very much. I'm Ed Cole. I'm head of Innovate UK ICure program. This is a UK government program to support universities in the UK to exploit their research. Thank you. This has been really inspiring. So I'll make my question really direct. That is the role of intellectual property. You talked about investments and about adding value, and His Excellency President Madabayo talked also about the fact that there is brilliance in Africa. What advice would you give, and what's needed to put in place robust intellectual property to enable innovation and also for growth and international trade?
Great, and then the last one. This is, thank God I've got the smartest woman in the world on my right. No, okay, you've got 5 words each. Go.
Okay. So my name is Christopher. I work with Oxford University. So basically, I just want to be specific, especially for Nigeria, that exports is oil. Most times, most of those oil also come from the US. I just want to know what this, trade agreement or the interest that the U.S. have, assigned to each country.
Great.
What
Oil
it means
and
to us.
Nigeria.
Thank
Right.
you.
And last.
Hello, thank you very much. My name is Alain Sionadefis from DR Congo. I spent 25 years in asset management, and my question is about the funding gap of Sustainable Development Goals. That gap is growing every single year. My question is, what needs to happen in terms of the financial infrastructure to help closing that gap and channel money from asset managers, asset owners, institutional finance into African situations where it's needed the most?
Thank you. So it's a huge agenda, but it serves, frankly, just to help us understand the agenda in the room. I can't possibly expect Ngozi to answer on vaccines, negotiation, the AU, IP, oil, and the Sustainable Development Goals. But Ngozi, is there any one of those or so that you would like to reflect on?
Okay.
And then I have one last little 2 questions over this side after that, but let's do some answers for that.
No more time. Right. You want to take that
Okay.
question, I think.
I'm just going to take the lady here, and then I'm going to have to close and let Ngozi give us a closing statement. Just right here. Just go without the microphone, I'll repeat it.
Developing countries in trade negotiations, and what reform can they take that will best serve their country's long-term interests?
Right, that which is like the negotiation question. Ngozi, sorry, I've given you an impossible task.
Yeah, I'm so sorry because I have a flight to catch. That's why we're a little bit stressed. Not that I don't want to spend time with you. On the vaccine issue, I was on the high-level panel that looked at the financing of vaccines, and as many of you may know, I was the chair of the Global Alliance of Vaccines, Gavi, for 5 years. I was chair of the board, so this is an area so I think we recommended a pandemic fund of $10 billion, and as of today, $3 billion has been raised, because I think one of the challenges is finding the 1.2 billion financing. It's not going to come easy. So how do we raise that? But I think that there are avenues. We've just seen some of the biggest philanthropists declare that they want to spend a lot of their money. Bill Gates, 200 billion in the next 20 years. Since we don't have aid coming, Europe has to finance security and defense, so they are cutting their aid budgets, and Europe is the most generous as a percent of GDP. The US is the largest in terms of volume, but they are cutting. And so we have to think of how to mobilize philanthropic finance. We have so many billionaires aiming to be trillionaires in the world, and somehow we've got to persuade them to share some of this for issues such as pandemics. So I think financing is a hurdle. Another hurdle is regulatory hurdles. The biggest complaint I hear from those pharmaceuticals and others who want to manufacture is Africa's fragmented regulatory landscape. And so the issue is, can we get the African Medicines Agency or the CDC, how can we get a more unified landscape? And actually, we began to talk to them about some of this. Would some countries be comfortable if we don't have continental regulation, that if 1 or 2 other countries who have very deep regulatory regimes in the area of food and drugs, if they certify and say these vaccines are okay, would the other countries be willing to accept their certification? This is one way to look at it until we can build a continental regulatory regime. So these are some of, I think the regulatory hurdles really scare the manufacturers. So I'll just stop just to give you an idea of 2 things which are there, but I think they have solutions and we need to pursue them. By the way, during the time that the pandemic was raging, Your Excellency, we had ordered vaccines for Africa through COVAX. And they had been manufactured. And they were sitting in one country that I would not name, that put, because the outbreak worsened in their country, they put an export ban on sending those vaccines to Africa. So we wouldn't have been at the back of the queue had they sent those vaccines. So trade issues can block even when you have money. And that's one lesson I learned, you know, and I can tell you the name of the country later. I won't say it publicly. But I went there and they finally agreed to send some vaccines, not all, to our people. Then there's a question about the unity, negotiating as one. It looks like many of you are really interested in this issue that Naira raised. Is it better for the country, whether it's for drugs or for supply chains, or what power do we have? I really believe we could have more agency and power if we could indeed come together with one voice, as His Excellency said, and negotiate as one. If we could do it, it would give us so much more. But that means that our countries have to be willing to give the AU that agency to be able to negotiate. But I noticed that when there's a conference, sometimes we have these partnership things, 54 African leaders fly to a country to have a conference. It'd be nice if they invited that president to fly to Africa and meet us there, either in Addis or something. It sends a signal. Your Excellency, you're here. I would suggest that. I don't know why 54 of our leaders are constantly flying here, flying there, meeting people. Well, it's nice sometimes to go elsewhere. But I mean, I would send a signal that, look, we are one continent. We are all going to meet in our continental capital, Addis. You come, you're one president, come and talk to us in our place. That way, we begin to build power, strength, to send a signal that we have one voice, and we actually, and the president that is leading the AU then can be empowered to listen to his peers and get what could work for the continent. It's not easy. Look at the EU. So I'm saying it, but I also want to admit that this kind of coordination takes skill. EU is 27. And what it takes them to get all 27 to agree to a common policy is very difficult. But they are managing it somehow. It's very difficult. So 54 countries is going to be a challenge, but we need to start finding a way to build that, maybe around certain issues, not everything. Just take one or two and say, on this issue, it's going to be one voice, and then we'll do that. So if we do that, if the AU were empowered, they could attract some supply chains that can work continentally. But beyond that, we have to provide the infrastructure. Business is about making profit. They're not coming there for charity. So if you want them to come continentally or subcontinentally, I would start, let's say West Africa-based supply chain. Can we look at the infrastructure that is needed to underpin this investment and see what we can do and what we can do to build that infrastructure? So all this will take planning and a longer time. Intellectual property. A very, very good question, very strong. WTO is the home of the trade-related intellectual property agreement. I'm not quite sure why, because we have a World Intellectual Property Organization. So I came and I asked, why are we housing this? But we do. But we work with WIPO, whose CEO, whose DG Darren Tang is a good friend. And we've seen that Africans are not able to validate their intellectual property. We are very behind in turning this into money the way others do. We are very behind in registering patents. We're even behind in the regulatory framework that can help us do this country by country. So there's a whole set of work to be done on intellectual property. Again, WHO, WTO, and WIPO have gotten together. We've launched a pilot effort with 16 countries to try to see, can we help them better in this area of intellectual property to enable use? Because I'll tell you, when I was minister at home, we have brilliant people in my country. I'm so proud. researchers who have discovered things. But how to go from the lab to commercialization? No money was being put behind this, no thought. So you have good inventions languishing. And I'm sure it's like that in many countries. So we don't lack the brains. We don't lack the knowledge. We lack how to take that from the lab to the market. And this is an area of work. Okay.
Fantastic.
Nigeria, export of oil. First of all, in the US, oil has been exempted. It doesn't face any tariffs, but to me, that's not the issue. The issue is about diversification of the economy. Not, for the meantime, we have oil, we export, we do what we can, but the fundamental question, diversification of exports and ability for us to tap our taxes. Nigeria's economy is actually quite well diversified in very interesting ways. But because we need to push further on really valorizing that diversification instead of oil. We've got brilliant young people in the tech sector, in fintech, in fashion, in creativity. When I was there, we rebased the economy because we hadn't done that for 25 years, and you're supposed to do it every 5 years. And we found that the creative industries make up 1% of GDP at the time, which we didn't know. This is very, very important. So we have areas within our economy in agriculture, agro-based industries, creative industries that was mentioned by the Africa president that we can really focus on. That's what we need to be focusing on in our country. So I hope I've answered your question. Oil doesn't have any tariffs on it, but I'm not interested as much in oil. I'm interested in other sections of the economy. Funding gap for SDGs. This is a big issue and a big question. We're so behind on the SDGs. There's going to be the Financing for Development Conference at the end of June in Sevilla, Spain, to discuss this issue. So I can't discuss it in 1 minute. A whole conference is going to spend 2 days looking at this issue. But grosso modo, I don't see, there's not much hope in terms of grant funding. In my mind, aid is almost dead. And I want our leaders to know that. So we need a complete change in mindset. We just need to go and look at our taxation system and our tax administration, because this aid is not coming. Every day they're in my office. They're cutting the aid budget to finance defense because the US is no longer going to support Europe with defense spending. So if you're sitting there thinking down the line, aid is going to come, it's not. And the little we are going to get has to be used extremely strategically. There will be some. Some of it should go to the human and social sector, some. But the rest needs to be used for de-risking purposes, in my view, to help attract private investment. We need to set up de-risking funds. And I'm saying to the EU, instead of giving 100 million to Tunisia or Morocco or whoever to stop migrants going to Europe, and then they make camps in the desert where they are all maltreated and dying, why don't we put this money into a de-risk fund that can help attract private investment to create more jobs on the continent and keep the young people home? It will help us, it will help you, and it's a much better use. So I think the funding gap for SDGs will be big, it will be there. It's not going to be closed in the normal way unless Bill Gates decides to give all his money to SDGs, which I don't think he will. Therefore, we have to get wise. How do we raise our own resources, and how do we use the little aid we have to attract the private sector? And then finally, I think it was imbalance between developed and developing countries and negotiations. Well, you need to have, first, you need to know what you want to negotiate. Why you want to negotiate it, what's in it for you. And then you've got to plan your negotiating strategy. So negotiation is not something you come into, whether it's trade or some other things. Just saying, let me listen to what they have to say, and then I'll make a strategy. No, I think before you even start, you need to have your own plan, and I'm sure you do, and strategic thinking. And then you've got to say, what cards do I have? Vis-a-vis this person I'm negotiating with. What cards do I have? What is my strength that I can use as leverage? And what strength do they have? When we were asking for debt relief, we didn't have many cards, $30 billion of debt payments. You know, but we mobilized every kind of card that we could think about. Part of it was to say, well, if you really want to get some of this money back, here's a suggested way we can pay you a certain amount. The rest you won't be able to pay. Let's sit at the table and we'll explain why. The other one was to say, if you leave this to us, we will use it wisely to fund education and health, because the debt service was twice the education and health budget. And that didn't make, why are you wanting to give us aid when we are paying you this? Just forgive it, and we will use that same money to finance this. And we created a virtual poverty fund in Nigeria where the money forgiven went directly into that financing, so they could see we were not just talking jazz. So we prepared, we had our cards, you have incentives, you have disincentives, you line them up, and you have your negotiating strategy. Thank you.
Well, join me. Can I just say, before we close, a tour de force by Dr. Okonjo-Iweala following President Bio's wonderful introduction this morning. In a very tumultuous world where many leaders are saying, what on earth do we do? Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala is just giving you a resounding message for each of your countries. For me, it was prepare to seize these new opportunities. Be polyandrous in your international relations. And produce more at home. In other words, there's so much to do when you take your brilliance back home, as President Bio suggested. Please join me in thanking Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala.
That was fabulous.
Sorry, I have to run.
You were fantastic.
Oh, so were you. Thank you so
much. Delegates, a befitting applause to the women in power. We have Dr. Ngozi and Professor Woods. Thank you very much. Please do take your seats as we transition to the next part of our program. What an amazing session, insightful, inspiring. Luhano, what's your big takeaway?
Big takeaway is think strategically and do your homework. That's it, like do your homework. Whether it's in diplomacy, in negotiations, do your homework.
All right, and at this juncture, we want to transition to the next part of our program, which is a group photo. And we'll be receiving some directions. The group photo will require for all of us to stand. We will be looking up there. There's a cameraman. Oh, there we go. And just before we take that, do take note that lunch is going to be at the back of this room, seminar room 3. And for our guests, our speakers will go to the next level, the first level. You'll have the speakers lounge there. All right, let's rise for the photo. Okay.
Like the clubs would just.
Sorry. Wait. Good.
Wonderful. Can I maybe have just a few people who are in this corner, just moving just this way? Right, let me just make sure I can see everyone. Okay, the main thing is that we can see see this camera just here. Can you guys down there see the camera? Just about, maybe just in this very front row, just taking a little step upwards. That's good, wonderful, fantastic. Let's have a little look. Amazing. Just a few people in this very corner. Can you just go backwards just a tiny, tiny bit? I know it's a screen.
A place cannot produce poems. It can only not prevent them. And Freetown is good at that, for Freetown has its own sudden elegances. People are slow to leave it, quick to return. And there are others who come for a year or two and stay for a lifetime, sensing that they found a city that is in the world, yet sufficiently on the edge of it to have a different resonance. Let me tell you something about this city. All of us, we're all just passing through, and we've all been here forever. Those who came, those who stayed, those who never returned. Tides turn, seasons change, We've waited and we've watched, but we've always been here. We've always listened, because there is a different resonance here. It comes from the river, and the land, and the sky.
It's our place, all of us.
This city belongs to everyone.
And you know when it's your time.
And it's our time.
Listen, we are Freetown.
The golden rules of Freetown.
Don't pretend you're something that you're not.
Don't go thinking you're better than anyone else.
Or that anyone else is better than you.
Don't shout about it. Get on with it.
We are Freetown.
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 Yeah.
We found our voice again.
I'm from India and Freetown.
I'm from China and Freetown.
I'm from the UK and Freetown.
I am from Nigeria and Freetown.
I am from home and Freetown.
This city belongs to everyone.
The fishermen,
The taxi driver,
The barber,
the drummers, the dancers.
All of us.
All of us. Everybody. We are Freetown.
The past is ours.
the future is ours. It's our time again.
and this city belongs to everyone.
The playwright,
The greengrocer,
The teacher,
the dog.
This space is ours.
this light is ours.
the beaches are ours. The rivers now we own.
The roads are ours.
The bridges now we own.
We are Freetown.
We are all visitors and we've all been here forever.
We've got the mightiest river.
And the biggest sky.
And there's a resonance again.
Freetown. Freetown.
We are proud of this place.
We love this city.
And we want you to love it too.
We are proud of this place.
Na pass we all dey pass like stranger dem, but we all don't dare from there. Come here, and you'll feel it, that end of the line sense of freedom. Say yes to Freetown. Say yes to freedom.
Discover Sierra Leone,
a hidden gem of West Africa, where the radiance of life danced in harmony with the beauty of nature.
Feel the heartbeat of our culture in every beat of the drum, in every step of the dance.
Experience the tranquility of our shores, where each sunrise brings new stories and endless possibilities.
Immerse yourself in the vibrant tapestry of our daily life, where every color tells a tale and every face a friend.
Come, be enchanted by the sights and sounds of Sierra Leone.
A place where your adventure awaits.
And memories are made.
A place cannot produce poems. It can only not prevent them. And Freetown is good at that, for Freetown has its own sudden elegances. People are slow to leave it, quick to return. And there are others who come for a year or two and stay for a lifetime, sensing that they've found a city that is in the world, yet sufficiently on the edge of it to have a different resonance.
Let me tell you something about this city. All of us, we're all just passing through, and we've all been here forever.
Those who came, those who stayed, those who never returned. Tides turn, seasons change. We've waited and we've watched. But we've always been here. We've always listened. Because there is a different resonance here. It comes from the river, and the land, and the sky.
It's our place, all of us.
This city belongs to everyone.
And you know when it's your time.
And it's our time.
Listen, we are Freetown.
The golden rules of Freetown.
Don't pretend you're something that you're not.
Don't go thinking you're better than anyone else.
Or that anyone else is better than you.
Don't shout about it. Get on with it.
We are Freetown.
Freetown.
Freetown. Yeah.
We found our voice again.
I'm from India and Freetown.
I'm from China and Freetown.
I'm from the UK and Freetown.
I am from Nigeria and Freetown.
I am from home and Freetown.
This city belongs to everyone.
The fishermen,
The taxi driver,
The barber,
the drummers, the dancers.
All of us.
All of us. Everybody. We are Freetown.
The past is ours.
the future is ours. It's our time again.
and this city belongs to everyone.
It's midday in Freetown. Hello and welcome to This Week, the program that reviews major stories of the week. I am Mariatu. In this edition of This Week, All People's Congress Party raises concern over alleged hacking into its new advanced digital registration system. President Bio appoints Dr. Emmanuel Gaima as head of Public Sector Reform Unit with cabinet rank and his principal executive advisor. Ministry of Communications and Innovation and Technology finalizes a session on computer system to enhance public digital services. Standards Bureau announces compulsory use of metric cups effective May. These stories are more lined up in this edition of This Week after this quick break. Welcome back. You're watching This Week. The Attorney General and Minister of Justice Alpha Cisse, alongside the Minister of Internal Affairs and the Deputy Minister of Finance too, has participated in the 30th Ministerial Committee meeting GMC of the Intergovernmental Action Group Against Money Laundering in West Africa in Senegal. During his opening remarks, JAMA's Director General Edwin Harris said, as the institution celebrates its silver jubilee, they have made efforts to champion financial accountability. He assured of working towards peace, regional security and prosperity of all ECOWAS citizens. It is held twice a year to encourage discussions between technical experts from the member states on the threats and challenges related to the fight against money laundering and the financing of terrorism in the sub-region. The GMC is the supreme political decision-making organ of GIABA. It comprises of 3 GIABA-line ministers from all member states, ministries of finance, security, interior, and justice. They reviewed and adopt, among others, the semi-annual activity report of the Director General for the period of November 2024 to May of 2025. The International Aid and Cooperation Manager, European Union, has stated that the National People's Convergence on Local Governance and Policy Dialogue is a testament of Action Aid and its partners to enhance government and the development in local communities. Julius Foley was speaking at a 2-day National People's Convergence on Local Governance and Policy Dialogue in Bo City.
Enhancing civil society partnership in governance and national level policy process in Sierra Leone is a 2.5-year project implemented in Bo, Bombali, and Kono districts by Action Aid Sierra Leone as lead and the Women's Action for Human Dignity and the Advocate for Social Justice and Development. The International Aid and Cooperation Manager, European Union, Julius Foley, said service delivery, policy formulation and analysis involve various initiatives, transparent arrangements and rules that determine how actors are responsible for the decisions and the quality of services in a defined written framework. He said everyone expects good policy implementation, but not everyone is willing to discuss an enforcement mechanism. Executive Director Action Sierra Leone Fodi Basi Soare said the project is part of his organization and partners' contribution to the development agenda of the country. He thanked the European Union for their commitment and support to strengthen the civil society's capacity in the country. Director NGO Affairs, Minister of Planning and Economic Development, Eric Mansali, said government considered Action Aid Sierra Leone as a critical actor in the actualization of the medium-term national development 2024 to 2030 and commended them for bringing together key stakeholders to engage in dialogue on strengthening local governance systems and shaping effective policy framework. Highlight of the 2-day event was the presentation and analysis of consolidated policy brief by the consultant Gerard Alexis. This overall objective of the project is to strengthen the capacity of civil societies in the targeted districts.
The Minister of Transport and Aviation has reassured the people of Bagroa, Lower Banta Chiefdoms in Moemba District, as well as those in Lobu Chiefdom Bo District, that the government is committed to constructing the bridges across the Bangba and Sewa rivers in order to replace boat crossing. This came during a visit to the area where Ambassador Alhaji Fandeturi and his delegation, including the Deputy Minister Rex Bonafa, engaged paramount chiefs and their people in Moemba and Bo districts to further assure them that the bridge's construction would go ahead as promised by the President.
The minister told the paramount chiefs and their people
that the bidding process to select suitable contractors for the construction was already underway, and it would be followed by other processes, including procurement. He encouraged the people to own the projects and contribute towards their success. Whilst he will not give a definitive date as to when construction will begin and end, the former permanent representative to the United Nations told the people that the bridges will be handed over to them in 3 years' time.
It will be done, and it's just a procurement process now. It's just going to go through the normal procurement process, which I believe would only take a few months or so, and then after which, before not too long from now, you will see, once the company has been selected, you will see them working here. Hopefully before the end of this year, they will start the job. But I can't tell how long it will take.
The paramount chief of Lower Banta Chiefdom, John Jibar Osel Inyama II, expressed his appreciation to the minister and President Bio for the projects. He said the people in the two chiefdoms have struggled for far too long to get their goods to the market center in Bangbatok. He also appealed for the construction of their road when the bridge would have been constructed.
Road network is one of the big challenges we face in the area. We want at the government fast track, and like I said, for the road network. Like we took this bridge, we join between Bagua and Lower Banta, because most of the farming activities, Bagua they do more farming, and we can get a goods and the one can go over to Oversell. For how them go this water, they get a problem.
The Gbangban River, which connects Bagrua and Lower Banta chiefdoms in Mayamba district, is a significant route not only for the movement of people, but it is also significant for trade and agriculture between the neighboring chiefdoms. However, as a result of the absence of the bridge, residents said there have been series of deaths and loss of property due to both accidents, particularly in the rainy season. They called on government to hasten the construction of the bridge.
Even like me, I don't lose me carry when I want back in school business. The boat capsized.
We don't get incident, not to one, not to two, where young man and they left inside our water. And most time, people they lost their luggage between the crossing point. A few months ago, we got with secretary when the Lower Banta secretary now inside our water they left.
You have to say talk and do press say wait till doc out now chief now there may continue and one make the team be fast or may they be the bridge fast.
The transport minister also visited Sumbuya town in Lubu Chiefdom, both districts, where another bridge is also due to be constructed, and made similar guarantee that the bridge will be constructed as promised by the president. PCN Sabadara Nalo, the 6th of Lubu Chiefdom, said the most pressing issue for the chiefdom is the absence of the bridge across the Sewa River, which connects the chiefdom to Bont districts.
Yeah, short to Matru, or for even go tune, or for even Freetown, or for go Moyamba, pass with the run from here to Bo now 42 miles. They will begin to take the Kenema highway back for Bo. But if at all we get this bridge, for Freetown, it's easy for we. For Bond district, where Matru and other areas there, it will go very short for me.
The two bridges are part of the Connectivity and Agricultural Market Infrastructure Project, or CAMIP, funded by the World Bank and implemented by the Ministry of Transport and Aviation in 4 districts. The project aims to improve urban mobility and road safety by developing public transportation and ensures safer routes. It also focuses on agricultural marketing infrastructure to support the country's agricultural sector. Soe Kamara, SLBC News, Freetown.
Sierra Leone Standards Bureau has joined the global community in commemorating World Meteorology or Measurement Day under the theme Measurement for all people. This year's celebration marks a significant milestone of 150 years since the signing of the Metric Convention in Paris. The historic treaty laid the foundation for international cooperation in measurement standards.
The biggest highlight of the commemoration ceremony of World Meteorology Day was the announcement that effective May 21st, 2025, metric cups will be enforced in all markets across the country. The move is aimed at promoting fairness and transparency in trade and consumer transaction. Although this new regulation is designed to ensure consistency in the measurement, it will affect various market vendors. Yet, it is seen as the best method required to adopt standardized measuring tools in line with international best practices. The Sierra Leone Standards Bureau Executive Director, Dr. John Paul Kaisam, spoke about the critical role of measurement in national development, noting that measurement is the bedrock for fairness and quality in every society.
Our path has been one of resilience. We have confronted infrastructural gaps, navigated resources constraints, and rallied stakeholders to organize that measurement. It's not a luxury, but a bright right of development. Yet with an unwavering resolve, we have turned challenges into stepping stones.
Meanwhile, UNIDO country representative Mariatu Soare described meteorology, which is the science of measurement, as a universal language of trust and a tool for empowerment, noting that the day was not only a celebration of standardization, but a reaffirmation of their commitment to the principles of accurate measurement.
And as UNIDO, we want to use this day to reaffirm our commitment to meteorology, the science of measurements, the invisible engine behind industrial growth, innovation, fair trade, and equality of life. Meteorology is the constant guardian of progress. National and international trade increasingly require a demonstrated conformity to written standards and specification and mutual recognition of measurement and tests.
Deputy Minister of Trade and Industry, Madam Fatmata Kamara, commended the strides made by the Standards Bureau and reaffirmed the government's commitment to modernizing its institutions. She said government was transforming the Sierra Leone Standards Bureau and upholding a robust measurement system.
Measurements for all people. And picture this. Even since utero, when we were inside the womb of our mothers, the babies go through measurements, right? Otherwise, if there is something that the doctor detects that the size of this fetus is too small or too big, it tells us that what? There is a pending problem. So this tells you the importance of measurement.
World Meteorology Day serves as a global reminder of the importance of measurement in every aspect of life, from health and safety to climate change and international trade. For SLBC News, Esther Suzanette Bassi reporting.
It's been 40 years for the Freetown Players, one of Freetown's most outstanding theatre groups. The group rose to fame in the 1980s, entertaining audiences, and succeeded in expanding the role of theatre from just entertainment to an effective tool for information and education. Their 40th anniversary celebration was held at the National Peace Museum.
The celebration held at the National Peace Museum brought together artists, journalists, and cultural fans to reflect on 4 decades of impactful performances and social advocacy. Founded in 1985, the Freetown Players have been instrumental in using theatre as a medium for education, awareness, and community engagement. According to the founder of Freetown Players, Charlie Amfna, their goal is to not only celebrate their past, but also to inspire the youth to come on board in promoting cultural expression and social change. He said they wanted them to understand the power of performing arts in addressing social issues of fostering unity within their communities.
as a performance group, first of all. What we set up for, as I say, for raise the level of theatre in this country. First thing, I be just amateur. Omangu sit down, they look one play, they laugh, they go all things down. But we come 1985 for reform that function. We try for now to introduce theatre as a tool for information, for communication, for education, sensitization, when a new one comes around the world time.
The event featured series of local songs and performance that highlighted the group's journey. The audience was treated to a lively display of talent in bridging the gap between generations. A young performer, Fatou Cissé, said being a member of the Freetown Players means a lot to her, noting it is amazing to see how theatre can make a difference and bring people together through edutainment, sensitization and performance in the form of drama, songs and traditional dance.
The benefits were possible get for joining Freetown Players and learn the history, and you were able to know like the difference within from how we country behave before and how we did now. They see a lot of changes to happen, and for putting them there where we live for bring back, where we will actually help we as a nation.
The anniversary celebration included workshops aimed at educating young artists about the importance of cultural expression and the role of theatre in social change. The Freetown Players are committed to empowering the next generation of performers and ensuring that their message continues to resonate. SLBC News in Freetown, Christiana Kamara reporting.
We apologize for that breaking transmission. We continue with This Week. The Opportunity Salon program was launched in 2022 to provide jobs for youth and persons with disability living in Bo, Kenema, Botloko and Bombali districts. The project, which was funded by the EU and technical support from ILO, was aimed at supporting entrepreneurship, agro-processing, innovation and legislative reforms in the corporate sector. After 4 years, various partners, including the National Youth Commission, have come together to assess progress in the progress implementation process. The meeting was held at Much Farm, Aberdeen.
Launched in 2022, the Opportunity Salon program set out to provide 4,000 decent jobs for Sierra Leoneans, which have been created, and more can still be done through the Scale Up, funded by the European Union and backed technically by the International Labour Organization. The initiative is being implemented in 3 strategic areas: entrepreneurship, agro-enterprise, and feeder road maintenance. The meeting brought together strategic implementing partners, Ministry of Trade and Industry, to revise the Cooperative Act of 1997, Sierra Leone Local Content Agency to build resilience for 21 innovative business, processing cassava and oil palm, National Youth Commission for Business Competition to tap into youth innovation on appropriate technologies, which will help farmers improve efficiency and productivity at the ILO office, Much Farm, Aberdeen, to discuss areas to improve and roll out plans for the continuation of the project. Chief Technical Advisor, Opportunity Salon Project, Tunderia Manoto, said there are so many challenges in society, noting that they are working tirelessly to address those problems through the implementation of the project.
We want to implement on time. We want to achieve things on time. And we want to be able to facilitate that our partners are able to do what they want to do on time. So everyone, hands on deck. That's the biggest expectation.
Representative European Union Franco Mansomara said the Opportunity Salon program under the ILO was one of its jobs and growth program, and they have been doing tremendously well since the project was implemented, and that they want their partners to do the same.
We should ensure that we have a good control system in place. The control environment, that means the attitude of key stakeholders, because if we have a very good attitude, impliedly it means that the people that we are working with will also place significance on the project.
Partners, National Youth Commission, Sierra Leone Local Content Agency, and the Ministry of Trade share their experiences and discuss the way forward for the completion of the project.
Our products that are made and produced locally here in Sierra Leone have the requisite value so that they cannot compete only here in Sierra Leone but on the global stage. All of those key objectives set as a target for the Opportunity Salon project.
Of course, an agreement has been signed between the International Labour Organization and the Ministry of Trade that has to do with the review of the Cooperatives Act. As the Chief Technical Advisor rightly mentioned,
our strength, our loyalty, and everything that can help us to project the image of young people in areas of value chains that having to do with cassava, palm oil, and vegetables. Thank you again, Chief, for the support.
As the meeting ended, partners were taught on how to do financial and technical reporting of document, communication strategies, and data collection.
The regional manager of Africa Global Logistics, Captain Kokan Fab Janko, has reaffirmed the company's commitment to continue in investing in Sierra Leone and the West African region. He was speaking at the Freetown terminal during an inspection and experience-sharing visit by a high-power delegation from Liberia.
Make a small visit. Yeah, sure.
The delegation consisting the chairman of Ports and Maritime Affairs, Director, Port of Buchanan and senior political advisor to the President of Liberia, among others, was on an experiential visit to both Sierra Leone and Guinea. This was also in line with the government of Liberia's ambition to partner with the Africa Global Logistics in order to modernize the 4 ports in Liberia, including